Good afternoon, President Sir, honorable judges, distinguished guests, my dear students, faculty, and all those who are present here. On behalf of Karam Bhumi Foundation, I welcome you to the third edition of Debate and Essay Competition 2025. Yes, sir, please come. Banali, sir. With your support and blessings, we have had successful runs in the first and second, and there have been good participation. This time there are 8 teams. And the objective of Karam Bhumi Foundation, which was established in February 2023, is to contribute in a very small way in the field of culture, in the field of education, welfare of Uttarakhand. And this is what we are doing. We also have a program in the month of May every year where we give an award of 1 lakh to a distinguished journalist who has contributed to Uttarakhand. And we have debate and essay competitions every year. And we also have a memorial lecture. The first memorial lecture was held in 2023, wherein Chief Justice Chandra of that time, he lectured. This time too we are planning it. And this award ceremony, though you can see these trophies lined up here, this is to motivate you. These will be given in the either a special ceremony will be held after the essay results are out or after the memorial lecture. So this is the background. We have great aims and objectives ahead for our foundations. We want to contribute something in the field of culture, have a competitive program on Kumauni, Garhwali, Jaunsari original music. Let's see whether we are successful in that or not. So this we want to have a painting competition of the painters of Uttarakhand. So we have a football tournament in Lansdowne. So these things are lined up in future. Small things which we can manage. With this as a background, may I request lamp. Yeah, come. Jala the lamp. Yeah, please. You light up the candle first, na? Candle first. Come. May I request President Sir, the 3 judges, Baluni Sir, to please light up the lamp.
Shall I start?
Start.
He Sharde Ma, He Sharde Ma, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ. हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ. तू स्वर की देवी है, संगीत तुझसे हर शब्द तेरा.
Academics, and then he decided to join the armed forces, and he excelled there. I mean, he did masters from Allahabad universities in medieval history, law, and then he joined his Air Force, first as the ATC officer, then the intelligence, then the PRO. Then he he did mountaineering. He was a regular broadcaster. He was announcer in the Republic Day, commentator in the Republic Day. And he's a great singer. At present, he practices law in Uttarakhand High Court, and he is dedicated to Uttarakhand. He has made his home after retirement in Uttarakhand, though he belongs to Allahabad. And here he spends more than 6-7 months in Nainital. So I requested him to be one of the judges, and thankful to you, sir, that you are here. Our second judge I would like to welcome is Shri B.P. Nautiyal ji. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Shri B.P. Nautiyal is eminent senior advocate of Uttarakhand of 45 years of distinguished service. He started his legal practice from Dehradun District Court, excelled in that. He was appreciated by all the seniors, even the judges, for his eloquence, for his advocacies, for his professionalism. And he was secretary of the Bar Council of Dehradun, and then he went to UK. At that time, he was 5 years secretary of the Bar Council of Uttarakhand Bar Association. An excellent person, thorough gentleman, helpful to people, and master in his profession. We could never have a better person than him as a judge today. I welcome you, sir. Our third judge is Mrs. Anuradha Singh. I request my sister to please welcome her. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Mrs. Anuradha Singh at present teaches legal studies in Doon School for many years. She did practice law for the first 12, 14 years, and she is masters in law from the Asiatic and Oriental School of Law, London. And her field is human rights, women welfare, child welfare, labor welfare. She has participated in numerous litigation in this regard. And we are very thankful to you, ma'am, that you are here. I have a great honor and privilege to welcome Shri Indu Pandeji. Thank you, sir, for being here. Shri Indu Pandeji, IAS officer, former Chief Secretary, Uttarakhand. And we always said we wanted a person with great intellect and all this, and then he was the man. So he is agreed to be with us. He is a man of art as well as science. He mastered in physics from Roorkee University, and he taught for 2 years, and thereafter he was in IRS, Revenue Services. Soon he was in IF, Indian Administrative Services in 1975. He was Chief Secretary of Uttarakhand. He was Chief Advisor to the Chief Minister of Uttarakhand. He headed the Finance Commission of Uttarakhand, Finance Commission 3 and 5. And to top it all, he's a great poet. His book of poems, Dhulia, was released a few years back, in which he has written poem in Hindi as well as Urdu. And I was listening to one of his poems titled Udas Shahar. And in that there is a very beautiful line कि जब शहर के लोग शहर मर्यादा पार कर लेते हैं तो जोर आता है शहर में. तो हमें लगता है कि हम हर एक शहर भी उदास होता है. क्या हमारा देहरादून शहर भी आज उदास है? क्या यहाँ पे हमें जोर की आशंका है? So his words are prophetic. He was reciting those lines. And I heard it. And sir, thank you very much, sir, for having accepted our invite, sir, and reciting this event. We are so grateful to you, sir. With this, I request President, sir, to please take your seat, sir. Before I start and call the first speaker, please, now you have to address to the President. He has taken over the command. He presides this ceremony. Okay? I'm just numbering, I'll call people, otherwise he is there. So address to you know things this better than me. Okay? So the first speaker, UPS, Samriddhi Mishra, please start. It happens to all of us. Okay?
Yes, sir.
the galaxy of intellectuals, Honorable President Sir, Honorable Judges, my opponents and my friends. Today the motion reads, strong states make strong nations. And I, Samriddhi Mishra, am a staunch supporter of this view. But before I even tell you why, I must clarify, this is not a radical call for the supremacy of the states. All I'm contending is that the former is an essential precondition for the existence of the latter. By strong states, I mean states which are fiscally capable and administratively strong so they can become laboratories for innovation. Further, we must recognize that federalism is not an unbendable concept. There are multiple versions of federalism that the states and the nations around the world have adopted themselves to after assessing what federalism could mean to them. But no matter what sort of federalism exists, whether that be holding together or coming together federalism, strong states is an essential requisite which stands. But let's begin easy and let's converse India. Our Constituent Assembly, in their infinite wisdom, recognized that India could not be governed by a distant, monolithic center. B.N. Rao, the advisor to the Constituent Assembly, articulated that states are not subsidiaries, but rather co-equal partners to the center in the new Indian Federation. He was actually an advocate for a true federation, but both the center and the states derived their power from the Constitution itself. All of this to articulate, honorable judges, the fact that the importance of strong states has been recognized and revered by genius minds for centuries. This brings me to my first argument, which is that strong states can help a nation in tumultuous times. The inclusion of public health in the state list of the Indian Constitution, for example, has proven to be remarkably effective because it has allowed states to respond contextually to crisis. Allow me to exemplify. In January of 2020, when Corona had newly entered India, Kerala became the first state to declare that there was a public health emergency and thereby deployed coordinated responses at state, district and local levels. It leveraged the constitutional autonomy that it had to come up with innovative measures like the creation of first-line treatment centers. Now, by June of 2020, when Corona raged elsewhere, Kerala maintained an impressive recovery rate of 51.7% with a significantly low mortality rate. Now this, my friends, this is no accident. This is the result of decades of investment in a decentralized public healthcare system. While all the other states also had the same constitutional autonomy, they lacked the institutional strength. But if all these states had the same institutional strength, would India not have inevitably been in a better position? This brings me to my second argument, which has an economic dimension, which I believe Montek Singh Ahluwalia, a renowned economist, articulated it the best. He said that strengthening of state finances leads to productivity growth and private investment and in turn economic development. It cannot be undermined. India's economic miracle is as much a gift of its state enterprises as it is a gift of national policy. For example, Gujarat only covers 6% of the total landmass, but because it is so aggressive in updating its industrial policies and infrastructure, it has led to 8% of the contribution of the GDP as per the Hindu and more than 20% of the exports. But why even limit ourselves to India? There are a plethora of examples available internationally that would demonstrate full well how competitive federalism has fostered economic powerhouses of states which have in turn strengthened the nation. The US is the world's foremost economy, and a large reason behind that is because it is a federation of economically powered states. The states therein independently house the global headquarters of multi-billion-dollar giants. This is because these states compete in order to provide the more fertile ground, whether that be through specialized labor pools or through low business taxes. Now, this decentralized system means that the economic wealth is diversified and localized. The dynamism of Silicon Valley in California, or the financial services concentration in New York, or the energy sector dominance in Texas are independent state successes, but in turn, they shield the entire nation against any sort of localized downturn. By the same logic, when these states are weak, the entire nation suffers, because these underfunded and poorly governed states relies heavily on central transfer, and the net effect is what you would expect it to be. Poverty. Now this brings me to my third argument, which is that strong states have the ability to identify and address any pockets of inefficiency that may be missed by the center given the sheer distance. Now I must reinforce that this is because the states are very often led by the people who come from the same soil as the people from those that they govern, which means that they are better attuned to local realities. The motion is not that strong states are the routine and they have unexceptionally created strong nations. No, it is rather the potential that we are discussing. So with that context, allow me to exemplify. So the exemplification comes from Akshay Mangla's study on Himachal Pradesh's education model proving to be extremely effective. It is because they realize under the new education policies and centers regulations that traditional implementation was going to be impossible because of the diverse settlements and because of the settlements and the nomadic tribes, etc. So they brought the schools to the children rather than taking the children to the school. Now this is contextual understanding translating national policies into actual local realities. But this I come to my last argument, which is that weak states breed corruption. Allow me to exemplify this for you with an example that would require no further elaboration. So Nigeria is Africa's largest oil producer. What would you think? That this is a blueprint for shared prosperity? But no, because of decades of over-centralization, all of the oil revenue is funneled directly to the central government in Abuja, and all that the states are left with are meager fixed allocations. Now this breeds institutional incapacity from the states from protecting any oil bunkering, which is the illegal tapping of pipelines. For all of these reasons, I contend that strength is best when it is distributed. We cannot be scared or suspicious of strong states. Rather, we must endeavor to bring them around. As Roman philosopher Sallust most aptly put it, harmony makes small things grow. The lack of it makes great things decay. Thank you very much.
Hold on. Question answer. Please.
You emphasized on the need of stronger states for making a stronger nation, which I agree on a lot of levels. But while proposing that point and while coming forth, you used highly decentralized examples from around the globe. And while we talk about development in particular areas, it is affected due to a number of reasons. Like, for example, you quoted Nigeria. While we compare the examples of development of Nigeria with other nations and other continents, we not only have to take into account the process of governance or the process of federalization and how it is determined, we have to take into account the other sociological factors as well. So while you try to explain this argument while using such decentralized and independent examples, don't you think that it comes forth as not try to get a holistic image of development and just try to make it put forward?
If you had to reframe your question in one line, to what do you want an answer to? What is that question?
That you use highly independent and decentralized examples from across the globe to put your point forward. And while we have to analyze that, we should analyze other socio-political conditions as well. And you didn't stay, just let me complete, sorry. You didn't stay onto one ground or one particular model or one particular area, so you could understand it in a holistic sense.
Of course, thank you very much. You have contended that I have only put forth decentralized examples. The Nigerian example was quite literally an over-centralized system.
What I meant by decentralized is different independent examples, which does not tell us about the whole structure.
Of course, thank you very much. Thank you very much for reframing that question, because that strengthens my point. There are different realities that exist across the entire realm of the universe, right? So we do witness that there are very different models of federalism. So I have also taken into account the federalism that is highly competitive of US, and I've also taken example of an over-centralized state, which is Nigeria. All of this to demonstrate to you how we discuss this motion. The motion is not that there exist around the globe only strong states which have only routinely and ubiquitously created strong nations. No. What we are talking about is the potential. So if I don't tap into these different realities which suffer from different sociological landscapes, of course US has a very different landscape to the landscape that we have in India. But in the same way that I can contend that the 1970 crisis that happened in Quebec, Canada, which was an internal security crisis wherein separatist terrorists kidnapped certain officials, and in the manner that the state that existed in Canada managed to deal with that threat while taking that same example parallelly to the example of Bastar, where the states where these states play a very proactive role in managing whatever Maoism or realities that the Bastar tribals are faced with. But both of these examples do require a certain level of policing and autonomy to the state being granted, so they can all effectively deal with these internal security threats. All of this to demonstrate that no matter what reality exists, whether you go from Australia to Canada to Nigeria to India, whatever example you take, you need strong states. May I even go further if you believe that I have taken independent examples to an example which would ordinarily not favor me, which is of China, but I could still somehow contend that Deng Xiaoping's make certain regions rich first policy has in turn strengthened provinces, which have in turn helped the entire nation become the economic powerhouse that it is today. Of course, I can contend that.
Just like you said, in quoting the example of China. Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes. Right. Thank you very much for bringing this. I would once again reinforce the motion that we are discussing potential. The entire frame of my argument, if you listen to my speech, was the potential that these states carry. Now again, abortion being banned, is that absolutely disdainful and against bodily autonomy of women? Yes, but then again, may I take that example and stretch it a bit further to talk about how abortion in fact became a national issue, or how national issues are created even at all. National policy, national issues are created right from the ground up. So you look at the local establishments that exist and the way that the states can help them. Now, if you look at sexuality being a discussion that takes place on a large scale, or the banning of books that may ban any sort of gender identity discussions, they all begin from the states promulgating those discussions so they can reach a larger pedestal, or they could be discussed at a nationwide level. Of course, I have throughout my speech never contended that US or India, or for that matter, any single nation, an absolute bulwark of federalism. There is not a single spot. It is entirely clean slate, and this we must aspire to be. No, I have taken independent issues from there to show how strength or certain autonomy being vested in certain states, how that can foster the help of the nation. So do I state that it's like saying that if a person is a habitual alcoholic, right, he should not consume a healthy diet, because that he would eventually die of the alcoholism anyway. We must ensure that both of these things can coexist, right? That person can get rid of this habit that he has, and he can also consume a healthy diet. So do we minimize the risks of a non-federalized nation being over-centralized, and non-federalized nation become over-centralized, and thus making risk for the entire nation at large? Yes, so that was my argument.
Thank you.
Thank you.
UPS, Samridhi Mishra was for the motion, and Virendra Pratap Singh Rathod, UPS, against the motion.
This. Shall I start, sir?
Please start.
Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel once remarked that manpower without unity is not a strength. It can never be. Honorable guests, President Sir, and the august audience, today I am standing here to talk to you about the motion that strong states do not make strong nations. And I say this because of many reasons, which I shall delineate in the course of my debate. We usually might think that it is an intuitive idea that if we have strong state units, right, and then we'll have a strong nation. But today I'll prove to you that this is not the case. This is a very simplistic and often dangerous idea. Now, Before I proceed forward, I'll briefly contextualize certain terms that I'll be using throughout the debate. First of all, when I say states, I mean federal units within a larger country, for example, the states of India. And when I say strength, I mean efficacy, I mean efficiency in terms of governance, law and order. I also mean the capacity of a state to deliver tea and well-being to its citizens. And nation here represents a shared belonging, a collective identity which binds the citizens together under a single flag. My prime commitment and contention today is this, that strong states do not automatically, and shall I say, not usually make strong nations. I will present three arguments in this regard. The first argument here is that strong states cause fragmentation of a nation. Now, when we think about strong states, we have states that have huge administrative potential, they have economic power, and this gives them the capacity to be able to then have their own regional interests being pursued aggressively. We have often seen that beginnings start from sentences like, we are doing better than others. Then they morph into sentences like, our culture is diverse and we are superior than others. This is a story that has been repeated all over the globe many times. And therefore, when we see such states, they essentially try to hoard all of the political talent, the capital, and they stop any sort of wealth redistribution from taking place to any other states within the country. And what this happens, this leads to fragmentation, this leads to secessionism. And if we were to talk about the motion in hand, you would think that the states which are federally strong, those countries have never been subject to any federated movements, right? But history shows us a different example. I'll take a very common example of Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia was made up of 5 constituent states. Now, these states had strong republican institutions and they had efficient governance structures. But instead of having a common Yugoslav national identity, these states decided to pursue their own regional interests at the cost of the nation. And today, we do not have a Yugoslavian nation. We have Bosnia, we have Croatia, we have Serbia. We do not have Yugoslavia because there was a bloody civil war that led to the disintegration of Yugoslavia. We also have the example of the American Civil War. We had the southern states which were strong in terms of their governance. They had independent laws. They also had economic resources. They did not decide to unify the nation. Rather, they succeeded from the nation. And this is precisely why when India became an independent state, it did not choose the American model of federalism. It chose the Canadian model of federalism to prevent this precise thing from happening. So therefore, these two examples show us that when we do not have an internalized sense of nationhood, states often lead to being vehicles of disintegration and not unity. My second argument here is that when we have uneven state strength, that automatically causes a weakening of national solidarity. So where we have strong states, these states have the autonomy to pursue growth and development without much interference from the center, right? And when this happens, that puts an onus of development solely on the shoulders of that state. Now that state is not dependent upon any other state or the nation. It has to rely on its own self in order to develop, because we have given it the autonomy to develop when we say that this state is a strong state. Now in these circumstances, certain states will invariably grow stronger, they'll be more industrialized, they'll be more richer, then there'll be states which are not. And what would this lead to? This would lead to citizens in the states which are not rich and industrialized feeling that they've been abandoned, while those that are industrialized, they would feel that it is exploitative if their wealth is redistributed to other less prosperous states. And what does this lead to? This leads to resentment. This leads to the idea that we must separate. And therefore, we have so many examples in history which show us this. We have the example of Ghana, for example. That country currently is one of the largest oil-producing states in Africa. It is also one of the federated states that has granted a lot of autonomy to its citizens and its states. Now we see a stark gap and inequality in Ghana. The oil-producing states are rich, and whereas the states that do not produce oil, they are poor. And the oil-producing states are not willing to share any of their wealth with the states that are not producing oil. And what that leads to? That leads to instability, and that leads to corruption. And that is what is plaguing Ghana since it is independent. Now, my final argument here is that a strong state is not a predetermined successor to the idea of nation and the idea of preserving one's identity. Because when we think about identities, we have multiple identities that we carry, our religious, our ethnic, our racial identities. And we would think that a state would protect those identities. But a state would prioritize the protection of the identities that it deems to be worthy enough to be protected. Whereas a nation would equally protect the identities of all individuals who reside within it. I'll give you two examples to prove my point. Chechnya is an independent republic within Russia, so it forms a state of Russia. Now, just to conclude, Chechnya is a country that has been plagued by human rights violations. It routinely overrides the Russian constitution and there's no accountability because that state has so much power. Whereas India is a country wherein we have the common belief and common notion that we as Indians are people who will be protected regardless of our differences through the process of law by a national government. And therefore, it is for that very reason that in conclusion I state that a state is not made up of constituent, nation is not made up of constituent states. Rather, it is the commitment that we have as people that make up a state. It is our commitments that we must never forget, and therefore I'm proud to oppose the notion, and I believe that strong states do not certainly make strong nations. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I request the speakers to please adhere to the time. The two speakers, both of them exceeded their time. Don't do that, Don't do that. That's why we ring a bell at the 6th minute. Wind up. You get full 1 minute to wind up. So, team number 2 is Uttaranchal University. Indranshi Saini will speak for the motion.
मैं अपना वक्तव्य 3 की गिनती पे शुरू करना चाहूंगी। 3, 2, 1। इस फैसले से पहले कि ईंटों में नुक्स था, मलबे आप नींव का पत्थर तलाशिए। श्रीमान, जब नींव ही कमजोर हो तो महल कितना ही ऊंचा क्यों ना बना लो, दरक ही जाएगा। और ये भारत नाम का राष्ट्रीय महल 28 राज्यों तो 8 केंद्र शासित प्रदेशों से मिलकर बना है। यदि राज्य कमजोर होंगे तो भारत की दीवारों में दरारें पड़ेंगी, ना कि दिल्ली की सड़कों पर फूल खिलेंगे। जी हाँ श्रीमान, मैं बात कर रही हूं मजबूत राज्य तो है मजबूत राष्ट्र। जब केरल ने शिक्षा में क्रांति लाई तो भारत साक्षर हुआ। जब गुजरात ने उद्योग की उड़ान भरी तो भारत आत्मनिर्भर हुआ। जब उत्तराखंड ने जल विद्युत दी तो भारत रोशन हुआ। और जब बंगाल ने संस्कृति दी तो भारत पहचान बना। अर्थात राज्यों की पहचान ही राष्ट्र की शक्ति है। सभा की उपस्थिति को अध्यक्ष महोदय की अनुमति से प्रणाम करते हुए मैं इंद्रांशी सदन में रखे गए विषय के पक्ष में अपने विचार लेकर उपस्थित हूं। अध्यक्ष महोदय, यदि आप राष्ट्र को बड़ा देखना चाहते हैं तो पहले हम उसके छोटे हिस्सों को बड़ा करते हैं। ठीक वैसे ही जब हम वृक्ष को बड़ा करना चाहते हैं तो पहले हम उसकी जड़ों को पोषित करते हैं। महोदय, जब हम बात करते हैं भारत की ताकत की तो केवल दिल्ली के महलों की चमक देखना मूर्खता होगी, क्योंकि असल शक्ति उसके राज्यों में है। राज्य ही वह भूमि है जो एक आम आदमी के सपनों को और उम्मीदों को सींचती है। श्रीमान, यदि ऐतिहासिक परिप्रेक्ष्य और आपका ध्यान आकृष्ट करूं तो हम देखते हैं ये वही देश है जिसमें कुरुक्षेत्र की रणभूमि में एक अदना सा सारथी जब राष्ट्रीय शक्ति का उपदेश देता है तो धर्म की विजय होती है। ये वही देश है जिसमें मगध का एक ब्राह्मण जब राष्ट्रीय एकता का संकल्प लेता है तो सड़क पर बैठे 5 साल के बच्चे को वह मगध का सम्राट बनाकर छोड़ता है। ये वही देश है जिसमें हरियाणा का एक युवा जब राष्ट्रीय शक्ति के साथ अपने बाजुओं को मजबूत करता है तो वह ओलंपिक्स में गोल्ड मेडल लाने वाला नीरज चोपड़ा बनता है। और श्रीमान, ये तभी संभव है जब एक मजबूत राज्य एक सशक्त और सम्मानित राष्ट्र बनाता है। मैं सभी को याद दिलाना चाहती हूँ, हम 57 की तलवारों का चमचम करता आलोक बने। हम कौन है जनाब? हम 57 की तलवारों का चमचम करता आलोक बने। हम हल्दी घाटी में रानी की भाले का वो नोक बने। हम गीत बने, संगीत बने, शब्दों के गहरे छंद बने, सिद्धांत शून्य का दे करके सृष्टि के वो भक्त बने। ये हमारा ऐतिहासिक इतिहास है। आज भले ही मैं उत्तराखंडी हूँ, हिमाचली हूँ, तमिल की हूँ, मद्रासी हूँ या बंगाली हूँ, पर जब बात राष्ट्र पर आती है तो मैं उसे राष्ट्र की कहलाई जाती हूँ। श्रीमान, जब मैं बात करती हूँ मजबूत राज्य तो मजबूत राष्ट्र की, तो मैं देखती हूँ केरल जिसने शिक्षा और उद्योग में लगातार निवेश कर राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर मिसाल कायम करी। नीति आयोग की रिपोर्ट इसे स्पष्ट करती है। श्रीमान, महाराष्ट्र, गुजरात, तमिलनाडु जैसे राज्य जब शिक्षा और उद्योग के जरिए राष्ट्र की कमाई बढ़ाते हैं तो हम देखते हैं कि मजबूती केवल अर्थव्यवस्था से नहीं बल्कि सामाजिक सुरक्षा में भी झलकती है। हम देखते हैं ओडिशा जिसने हाल ही के चक्रवात फैनी के दौरान 1.5 मिलियन लोगों को समय रहते सुरक्षित निकाला। मैं बात करना चाहूंगी अमेरिका की, जहां टेक्सास की ऊर्जा, कैलिफोर्निया की क्रांति और न्यूयॉर्क की विद्युत शक्ति मिलकर सुपर पावर अमेरिका गढ़ती है। मैं देखती हूं अमेरिका का 70% जीडीपी का हिस्सा उसके राज्यों की स्वतंत्र आर्थिक नीतियों से आता है। मैं बात करना चाहूंगी जर्मनी की। द्वितीय विश्व युद्ध के बाद बर्बाद जर्मनी फिर उठ खड़ा हुआ अपने राज्य लैंडर की मदद से। बवेरिया की ऑटोमोबाइल्स क्रांति से लेकर इंजीनियरिंग तक BMW, ऑडी, मर्सिडीज जैसे नाम आज जर्मनी की पहचान है। श्रीमान, जर्मनी में बेरोजगारी दर 3% से कम तो प्रति व्यक्ति आय 4 लाख से अधिक है। फिर मैं देखती हूँ स्विट्जरलैंड जिसके छोटे छोटे 26 कैंटोन हैं, जिनका अपना संविधान, अपना कर नीति, अपनी शिक्षा है, पर फिर भी सब एक ध्वज तले। क्यों? क्योंकि वहाँ राज्य खुद को मिनी नेशन की तरह मजबूत करते हैं और उठ खड़े होते हैं एक राष्ट्र बनाकर, स्विट्जरलैंड। तो हम देखते हैं नींव राज्यों से मजबूत होती है तो राष्ट्र अडिग खड़ा रहता है। मैं बात करना चाहूंगी कश्मीर की। कश्मीर में एक समय था जब वहाँ पाकिस्तानी नारे चलते थे, पत्थरबाजी चलती थी, पर अनुच्छेद 370 हटने के बाद वहाँ का आर्थिक और सामाजिक तंत्र बदल गया। हाँ, कुछ कठिनाइयाँ आई पर परिणाम, आज वहाँ पर्यटन 10 गुना ज़्यादा बढ़ा तो जीडीपी में 5% की वृद्धि हुई और रोजगार बढ़ा। श्रीमान, पर सबसे बड़ा परिवर्तन था आज वहाँ पे लोगों का विश्वास वापस लौटा और राष्ट्रीय एकता की भावना वापस आई। आज वही कश्मीरी जो पहले पत्थर उठाते थे अब किताबें उठा रहे हैं, क्योंकि वे समझ गए कि आतंकवाद से नहीं विकास से पहचान बनती है। ये वही मनोवैज्ञानिक बदलाव है महोदय, मैं जोर देना चाहूंगी, ये वही मनोवैज्ञानिक बदलाव है जो किसी भी राज्य तो राष्ट्र की सबसे बड़ी जीत है। आज हर राज्य अपने हाथों की लकीर खुद तय कर रहा है, कोई शिक्षा, कोई उद्योग तो कोई तकनीक के जरिए। श्रीमान, ये विभिन्नता हमारी कमजोरी नहीं, हमारी मजबूती है। हम भले ही आज अलग भाषा बोलते हो पर हम सबकी भावना एक है। हम सबके रंग भले ही अलग हो पर हमारा ध्वज एक है। हम सबकी समस्याएं भले ही अलग हो पर आज समाधान एक है। मजबूत राज्य तो है मजबूत राष्ट्र। और फिर कहते हैं ना, जब जड़ें मजबूत होती हैं तो आंधियां भी सिर झुका जाती हैं। श्रीमान, अंत में केवल यही कहूंगी कि जब पंजाब का किसान अपने खेत में अनाज बो रहा होता है तो वह केवल महाराष्ट्र नहीं पूरे भारत की थाली में परोसा जाता है। जब उत्तराखंड और हिमाचल के बागों से फल उतरते हैं तो वह दिल्ली और मुंबई की गलियों में मिठास बनकर बिखर जाते हैं। जब उत्तर प्रदेश और बिहार का मजदूर ईंट पत्थर जोड़ रहा होता है तो वह केवल शहर नहीं राष्ट्र का भविष्य गढ़ रहा होता है। जब आसाम की चाय सवेरे हर घर में महकती है तो वह सीमाओं से परे उसमें भारत की आत्मा बसती है। जब कर्नाटका का बेंगलुरु विश्व को डिजिटल भारत की पहचान देता है तो तमिलनाडु की मंदिरों की घंटियां इस सफलता की गूंज में आशीर्वाद बनती हैं। यही तो शक्ति है, जब हर राज्य दूसरे का सहारा तो हर संस्कृति दूसरे की परछाई है। श्रीमान, ये केवल भूगोल नहीं, ये भाव है, ये बंधन है, ये मेरा राष्ट्र है। जब सब राज्य अपने अस्तित्व से आगे बढ़कर हम की चेतना को अपनाते हैं तब उठ खड़ा होता है एक राष्ट्र, अजय, अमर और अटूट। तब सीमाएं नहीं राज्य नहीं आत्माएं जुड़ती हैं, सीमाएं नहीं, एक आत्मनिर्भर, सर्वश्रेष्ठ, संपन्न, सशक्त, मजबूत राष्ट्र तो भारत बनता है। धन्यवाद।
राष्ट्र की प्रति व्यक्ति आय भी घट जाएगी। तो आप कैसे कह सकते हो कि एक राज्य जो है मजबूत राष्ट्र बनाना है?
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद महोदय आपके इतने महत्वपूर्ण प्रश्न के लिए। तो जवाब देते हुए मैं प्रकाश कुछ इस प्रकार डालूंगी। मैंने कहा कि जर्मनी में बेरोजगारी दर 3% से कम तो प्रति व्यक्ति आय 4 लाख से अधिक है। मैंने प्रति व्यक्ति आय की बात करी। हर राज्य में जब प्रति व्यक्ति आय बढ़ती है तो वो राष्ट्र के हित में होती है, जब प्रति व्यक्ति आय कम होती है तो वो राष्ट्र के अहित में होती है। मैं सीधा यही कह रही हूँ कि राज्य के मजबूत होने या ना होने का सीधा असर राष्ट्र पर ज़रूर पड़ता है। मैं कहना चाहूँगी कि जब मैं कहती हूँ कि मजबूत राज्य तो मजबूत राष्ट्र, तो मैं देखती हूँ उसमें मेरी, आपकी और हम सबकी जिम्मेदारी सामने आती है। मुझे लगता है कि एक मजबूत राज्य तब मजबूत राष्ट्र बनाता है जब वहाँ महिलाओं की पूजा नहीं, उनका सम्मान होगा, जब वहाँ जाति धर्म के नाम पर भेदभाव नहीं, वहाँ पे सामाजिक सशक्तिकरण की बात होगी, जब वहाँ स्वच्छ भारत अभियान की केवल बात नहीं, केवल सरकार का काम नहीं, बल्कि सड़क पर चलने वाला प्रत्येक व्यक्ति हाथ बटाएगा, स्वच्छ स्वस्थ भारत को दिल से अपनाएगा। असल मायने में श्रीमान, मजबूत राज्य तो मजबूत राष्ट्र तब बनेगा जब एक गरीब बच्चा मध्याह्न भोजन के लिए नहीं बल्कि ज्ञान अर्जन करने के लिए सरकारी चौखट पर कदम रखेगा। महोदय, मैं कहना चाहती हूँ कि जैसे आज मैं वक्ता की भूमिका निभा रही हूँ, आप श्रोतागण की तो कुछ निर्णायक गण की, वैसे ही जब राज्य में प्रत्येक नागरिक अपनी भूमिका समझ जाएगा तब उठ खड़ा होगा राज्य तो मजबूत राष्ट्र। मैं कहना चाहती हूँ कि जब शिक्षक अपनी सीएल और पीएल से परे हट सच में शिक्षा देंगे। ओके ओके, आई हैव रिप्लाई।
Hello, please understand the question and reply it appropriately. Okay? Against the speaker, Abhinav Bansal.
Shall I start, sir?
You have been invited 1 minute back.
Okay, sir. Different dates, different nation, but the same tragedy. Not just deaths, but division. Because when the Twin Tower collapses on 9/11 or the Mumbai burn on 26/11 or when our Jawans are being attacked, it is not just the destruction physically, but emotionally. Because when many were crying, there were many who were celebrating. In the very same soil of their own land, they were smiling, which is the biggest proof that the nation does not collapse because of bombs, but collapse because of its own people. Ladies and gentlemen, I come from a land, of a nation, where a state like Maharashtra, who flexes their GDP, calling themselves as the economic engine of India, the land of Bollywood, the hub of dreams, where government works day and night to shut down the comedian shows and silence artists, but cannot shut down the local Mumbai train doors, because of which 5 to 7 people die every day. Where politician prefers to speak Hindi, but the citizens are beaten, but not because they have violated a law, but because they are speaking Hindi, not Marathi. I say that yes, the state is very strong, but in such a federal state where there is lack of sense of unity, will the nation become stronger? The answer is no. Or let's move to the south, where the states like Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, who flexes their GDP, high skyscrapers, infrastructure, building, calling themselves as the most literate, developed and progressive, often celebrate their strength against the national policies. Where politician orders a shopkeeper to remove the Hindi subtitle boards from their shop, citizens are beaten for not speaking Kannada, and youth hesitates to say Bharat Mata ki Jai, but very free to say Palestine Zindabad and fighting for the rights of the Palestinians. But when asked about the Pahalgam attack, the Bangladeshi Hindus, the Kashmiri Pandits, they say that it is none of their matter being an Indian citizen. Then I ask that yes, these states are very strong, but with lack of patriotism in such a federalism, will the nation become stronger? The answer is no, and that is why, ladies and gentlemen, I stand against the motion, believing that strong state does not guarantees to make a nation stronger. And I will make you believe that where there is federalism, regionalism rises and nationalism cannot exist, because nationalism is about its people, nationalism, patriotism, sense of unity, while state is merely of GDP, infrastructure and development. Let me start with United States of America, that my opponents will be saying as the best federalism example. But I stand here today claiming that USA has become a global joke on the global platform and is becoming a weak nation. Yes, you heard it right. Let me give you a very prime example of Zohar Mamdani, The first Muslim mayor of New York City having an ideology of he will defund the police, he will legalize sex work, and his words that he will end the chapter of collaboration of New York City Hall with the federal government and the Donald Trump, the USA's president. Then I ask this house that when the states have so much of different ideologies, when one says that legalize LGBTQ rights, abortion, conversion of genders, when one criminalizes it, when the nation cannot have one ideology, one vision on the global platform, then how you will say that the nation is becoming strong? Or just look at my own nation, where a place like Ladakh, that once used to get few hundred crores of rupees from Jammu and Kashmir from out of a total budget of 80,000 crore rupees, is now roughly getting 6,000 crore rupees of budget, becoming strong. But now they are demanding a statehood, an inclusion in the 6th schedule of the Constitution of India. So I ask this house a very simple question: is it not selfishness, regionalism, where nationalism is no more a priority? Because they are thinking of their own jurisdiction, own rights, preserving their natural resources, but not even once thinking about the national security and collective progressiveness of the development by those natural resources of this nation. Or you take the example of my own state, Devbhoomi Uttarakhand, the land of God, pilgrimage, peace and purity, where the land where we have today new highways, development, new projects, development at a peak that government is spending 923 crore rupees just on advertisement, but not able to protect journalism. Where journalists like Rajiv Pratap body is found dead in Uttarkashi because he was exposing scam. Or you take the example of Mukesh Chandakar, whose body was found in a septic tank in Chhattisgarh because he was exposing road scam. Then I ask this house a very simple question that yes, these states are becoming stronger, but with the collapse of the fourth pillar of the democracy of this nation, that is journalism, can you say that the nation will become stronger? The answer is no. I challenge my opponents to look into the eyes of the Kashmiri Pandits and the women from West Bengal and ask them nationalism, patriotism and sense of unity for this nation when this nation and state has failed to relocate the Kashmiri Pandits into their homeland, and women cannot even walk freely day and night in the streets of the West Bengal. And even if my opponents or someone in this house who believe that strong state makes strong nation, then I ask a very simple question to this house. That in 2024 Lok Sabha election, Amrit Pal, a terrorist, a pro-Khalistani in jail, wins the election from Kadur Sahib constituency with 1,90,000 votes, having a mentality to separate Pakistan, to separate Punjab from India, making Khalistan. Or you take the example of Abdul Sheikh Rashid from Baramulla in Kashmir Valley, wins the election for 2024. So I ask this house a very simple question: when these states will become stronger and stronger in future, but the citizens will vote to the terrorists who will demand a separate nation in the parliament, will you say this, that strong states make strong nation? Because I repeat in this house that if you want to understand the meaning of sense of unity and patriotism, go and read Soze Vatan written by Munshi Premchand, or go and understand when it was asked that will you settle in foreign for a luxury life, Ustad Bismillah Khan replied that can you transport Ganga there? This is what is patriotism means. Because I say that when states are busy in arrogance, when states are busy in caste discrimination, in corruption, when they are building walls by language, by using religion as a weapon, how can a flag be won when hearts are divided and we are keep finding unity in diversity everywhere when there is no patriotism? It is the nation that gives us identity, not the state. And while the nation gives you identity, they do not ask that what is your caste or your religion. The only thing they ask, are you Indian or not? Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. So can I?
Okay, so you phrased about different states and about their weak points, that you gave many examples that they are asking for different nation, or they are encouraging means wars and warlike situations. So in your opinion, is it necessary? So you want like states shouldn't be given the power, like you say that they shouldn't be given the unitary power if you are fearing that there is a risk that they might go against the nation's policy.
So though I have not understood the question perfectly, but I can answer this. I'm saying that for the unitary government, if you take the 5 veto nations in the UNSC, China is a unitary government, France is a unitary government, UK is a unitary government, Russia, those saying that they are federal today, they are practicing unitary government. Only one nation, USA, that I quote, has become a global joke. While I'm saying that a state does not guarantees to make a nation stronger, because nation is built by its people. When the India got independence, there were 565 princely states, but Hyderabad, Junagadh and Jammu Kashmir wanted to have a different nation, or they wanted to be a part of Pakistan. It was one iron man who had a thought and filled with patriotism and nationalism who united 565 princely states into one nation. Either I can also say that before independence, everyone was fighting for the rights and for the freedom of India, but soon they got the independence, they start thinking about themselves, because in federalism, regionalism comes in mind. India is a quasi-federal state, where in normal time, we are federal, but as soon as an emergency comes, we convert to unitary government, because B.R. Ambedkar Rao even knew this thing, that India cannot fully function in such diversity with a federalism. That is the thing. Any other?
Hello. So your entire premise rests in regionalism rise because of identity strengthening through strong states. Do you not think this draws parallel with a fundamental misunderstanding that occurred when there was the reorganization of state and linguistic basis, where majority of the people in power thought that because of the reorganization of states, there would be a rise of regionalism. But did it not end up stabilizing the nation? So do you not think this is a fundamental error in understanding that just because people become firm in their identity in a region which needs to exist in a nation like India, where tribal people are so often found, do you not think that this is an understanding where you are placing suspicion in your own people by saying that they cannot be firm in their identity while being patriots?
See, I answer you by saying this, that human has a tendency of us versus them. Okay. In federalism, when regionalism rises in your mind, after a certain time, we stop a collective progress and we start thinking that to put them down to become up. For example, if you are talking about all the things that you said right now, I give an example, a prime example, that when I talk about Maharashtra, I talk about Kerala, Karnataka, all those infrastructures, who are the hands those have built those infrastructures? Poor labor from UP and Bihar. Those poor laborers of UP and Bihar who sleep in the construction dust site while these people sleep in luxury. Yet, in the election rallies, these Tamil Nadu politician and Maharashtra politician says that the people of Bihar and UP have a weaker DNA than us and they are illiterates and they come here to spread crime. Who will build those infrastructures if not the people of UP and Bihar? Is it not an anti-national activity saying by an Indian against a whole community? I ask a very simple question. This is what regionalism comes. While I'm saying you take Norway, you take Finland, you take Japan, you take best to best countries, you see there's a unitary government, a national policy implemented to everyone so that person can have an ideology. Nation is built by ideology. Uttarakhand people love to preserve their rights. But what if we start beating the people of Maharashtra who come here to study just because they are not speaking Gadwali? That is called regionalism. That is what I'm trying to say, that strong states does not guarantees to make a nation stronger, because regionalism rises and nationalism cannot exist at that moment. Any other? Sir, 5 minutes are left. Oh yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Third team is Garhwal University. For the motion, Manika Rana.
सभी को नमस्ते। मेरा नाम मणिका है और आज हम जिस विषय पर बात कर रहे हैं वो है कि क्या सशक्त राज्य सशक्त राष्ट्र का निर्माण करते हैं। तो मैं इस विषय पर पक्ष में अपनी बात रखना चाहूँगी। सबसे पहले जब हम यहाँ पर राज्य और राष्ट्र की बात करते हैं तो मैं कहना चाहती हूँ कि राज्य एक भूक्षेत्रीय यानी कि भूगोलिक इकाई है, लेकिन राष्ट्र अपने आप में एक ऐतिहासिक, सांस्कृतिक और भावनात्मक इकाई है। तो जब भी हम राज्य और राष्ट्र की बात करते हैं, उनकी परस्पर बात करते हैं, राज्य और राष्ट्र को एक संदर्भ में जोड़कर, तो हम राष्ट्र की और राज्य की संप्रभुता, स्वायत्ता एवं उनके सशक्तता की बात करते हैं। आचार्य कौटिल्य ने अपने युद्ध विस्तार के दर्शन में राज्य को सप्तांग में बांटा है। उन्होंने बताया है कि राज्य के 7 अंग हैं, जिसमें वे कहते हैं कि स्वामी, अमात्य, दुर्ग, जनपद, मित्र, दंड व कोश। उन्होंने ये 7 तत्व राज्य के बताए हैं। और जब राज्य सशक्त होता है, सशक्तता न केवल आर्थिक रूप से बल्कि सैन्य रूप से, अकादमिक रूप से और प्रशासनिक रूप से, तभी हम देखते हैं कि राष्ट्र का निर्माण, राष्ट्र की सशक्तता बढ़ रही है। और असल मायनों में देखें तो शायद यही हमारे परम पूज्य उन व्यक्तियों का यह वक्तव्य रहा होगा, गंतव्य रहा होगा, जिन्होंने संविधान के निर्माण में एक अहम भूमिका निभाई है। हम जब बात करते हैं पंचायती राज व्यवस्था की, जो कि 2 अक्टूबर 1959 को राजस्थान के नागौर में सबसे पहले शुरू की गई थी, आज हम देखते हैं कि पंचायती राज व्यवस्था में राजस्थान सर्वोत्तम नंबर पर है, वो अव्वल दर्जे पर है। और पंचायती राज व्यवस्था का एक कारण उसे लागू करने का यह भी था कि ग्रास रूट लेवल, जिसे हम अंग्रेजी में कहते हैं, यानी कि बुनियादी तौर पर भी एक सशक्तता आ सके। यानी कि लोग जो न्याय में विश्वास करते हैं, जब न्यायपालिका पर विश्वास करते हैं, तो वो अपने ही स्तर पर पहले उन्हें न्याय मिल सके और उसके बाद उनके पास यह स्वतंत्रता है कि उसके बाद वे उच्च न्यायालय के दरवाजे खटखटा सकें। महोदय, जब भी हम बात करते हैं कि सशक्त राज्य, सशक्त राष्ट्र के निर्माण करते हैं, तो मैंने देखा कि हमारे कई सारे जो भी हमारे साथी यहाँ पर बैठे हैं, प्रतिभागी बैठे हैं, उन्होंने बात कही कि रीजनलिज्म की। तो जब हम बात करते हैं इस शब्द की, तो हम देखते हैं कि ये शायद कि लोग कहते हैं कि राष्ट्रीयता राष्ट्रवाद के विपक्ष में खड़ा हो रहा है। लेकिन मैं पूछना चाहूँगी कि कैसे? क्योंकि जब हम बात करते हैं राष्ट्र की, तो राष्ट्र की भूमिका अपने लोगों के लिए एक माँ की तरह होती है, और माँ कभी नहीं चाहती कि उसके बच्चे जो हैं वो पिछड़ जाएं। माँ का हमेशा वक्तव्य यह रहता है कि उसके बच्चे उससे ज़्यादा प्रगति करें, आर्थिक रूप से, प्रशासनिक रूप से, एकम अकादमिक रूप से। और वही राष्ट्र चाहता है कि उसके राज्य भी स्वायत्ता के साथ निर्माण कर सकें, आगे बढ़ सकें और अपनी चुनौतियों का हल निकाल सकें। और इसी क्यों मैंने आज माना कि हाँ, वास्तव में कि राज्य का निर्माण राष्ट्र के लिए होता है। माना कि बहुत सारी कमियां हैं, हम सभी इंसान हैं और इतने बड़े देश में रहने के कारण हम जानते हैं कि बहुत स्तरों पर कमियां हैं, बिल्कुल हैं। लेकिन उसका अर्थ यह नहीं कि जो शक्ति हमें राष्ट्रों को, माफ़ कीजिएगा, जो शक्ति हमें राज्यों को देनी चाहिए, वो न सिर्फ इसलिए ना दी जाए क्योंकि हमें ये डर, हमें कहीं ना कहीं लगता है कि वो राष्ट्र के अगेंस्ट होंगे। क्योंकि भारत एक ऐसा देश है जो वसुधैव कुटुंबकम की बात करता है, हम समूचे विश्व को साथ लेकर चलने की बात करते हैं। तो कोई भी जो सच्चा भारतवासी है, उसके मन में कभी भी ये बात नहीं आ सकती कि मुझे अपने लिए एक अलग इतिहास चाहिए, अपनी एक अलग एकता चाहिए या अपनी एक अलग संस्कृति चाहिए, क्योंकि वो सबसे पहले खुद को भारतीय कहता है। और वसुधैव कुटुंबकम की जब मैं बात कर रही हूँ, तो जब भी हम अखंड बात करते थे या कहते थे कि हम विश्व गुरु हैं और आज भी उस तरफ अग्रसर हो रहे हैं, तो हमारा मंतव्य सिर्फ यह रहता है कि राज्य परस्पर वृद्धि करे और उसके साथ राष्ट्र भी एक एकलता के साथ आगे बढ़े, जिसको सुनिश्चित करते हुए हमारे स्तर पर हम देखते हैं कि प्रशासनिक तौर पर भी कई सारी मूलभूत सुविधाएं दी जा रही हैं। और मैंने जैसा ही अपने मंतव्य में कहा कि प्रशासनिक स्तर पर, जैसे हमने पंचायती राज व्यवस्था की बात की, राजस्थान का मैंने आपको उदाहरण दिया कि पंचायती राज व्यवस्था में सर्वोत्तम शीर्ष स्थान पर आज राजस्थान खड़ा है। लेकिन जब भी हम बात करते हैं कि क्या पंचायती राज व्यवस्था में कुछ कमियां हैं, तो हाँ, कमियां हैं, पर कमियां इसलिए हैं क्योंकि आज भी राज्यों को पंचायती राज व्यवस्था में वो अधिकार नहीं मिले हैं जिससे वो पूर्ण तरह काम कर सकें। आज भी प्रशासनिक हस्तक्षेप देखने को मिलते हैं। जो भी आम, हम कहें कि आम संघ हैं बने हुए या राजनीतिक पार्टियां हैं, तो वो कहीं ना कहीं हस्तक्षेप कर रही है और वो बहुत बड़ी हमारी एक विकलता है कि वो हमें कहीं ना कहीं पिछाड़ रही है। तो इस बात को हमें दूर करने के लिए, ताकि राष्ट्र मजबूत हो सके, बिल्कुल आवश्यक है कि राज्यों को स्वायत्ता दी जाए, उन्हें सशक्तता प्राप्त हो और मजबूती के साथ वे आगे बढ़ सकें। धन्यवाद। इसके अलावा यदि किसी के कोई प्रश्न है तो मैं चाहूँगी कि आप अपने प्रश्न रखें।
धन्यवाद.
PM Narendra Modi or Rahul Gandhi will not decide the future of my country. It's 1.48 billion of population, ladies and gentlemen. It's the blood shed by Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, Sukhdev, and it's the constitution of my India, which starts with we the people of India and not with we the state of India or we the Punjab, Jammu Kashmir, Haryana, Himachal of India. From the ruins of Nazi Germany to the fall of Soviet Union, history whispers same warning again and again and again and again, that a strong state may command the army, but it cannot command love. Strong state may conquer the land, but it cannot conquer the hearts. A very cheerful and enthusiastic good afternoon to everyone. Today I, Tanvi Sharma, stand here not to praise the power, but to protect the freedom. A nation does not build in the shadow of authority. Nation rises in the light of equality, morality, and participation. Respected jury members and my learned friends, let me tell you that the phrase strong states build strong nation sounds very persuasive in the beginning, very poetic. In fact, who doesn't wish for a very strong, decisive state? But if we look deeper into the politics, history, and constitutional morality, we get to know that strong state doesn't build strong nation. In fact, an overly powerful state can ruin or can destroy the very spirit of nationhood. Let's begin with an illusion that power is equal to unity. Ladies and gentlemen, a strong state can enforce the obedience from the people, but strong state cannot command the feeling of belongingness in the people. A strong state can control its people, but cannot unite its people. The preamble of the Indian Constitution starts with, we the people of India having solemnly resolved constitute India into sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic and republic. The word sovereignty. The sovereignty lies in the people, but not in the apparatus of the government. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the father of the Indian Constitution, have highlighted he was against the tyranny of the state. He was against the arbitrary role of the state. And he highlighted the very essence of the Indian Constitution, that is democracy, which stand tall on the idea of rule of law, separation of power, decentralization, coordination, and dialogue. For the convenience of everyone sitting here, let me highlight certain historical events which proves that strong state destroys the strong nation. I'll talk about a very classical example from the international politics, that is the disintegration of Soviet Union in the year of 1991. The world politics, the entire world was looking at bipolarity. What was the reason behind the disintegration of Soviet Union? The reason was the very states including Russia, Ukraine, Belarus and many more states, what feeling was developed within them? They felt that they are socially, they are economically, they are politically, culturally self-sufficient and there is no need to stay together. I have plethora of facts that I could quote here. Nazi Germany, fascist Italy, these are such authoritarian states who destroy their own nation just for the feeling of expansionism, with the lots of atrocities. I have many more facts to talk about here. That is the separation of Catalonia from the Spain in the year of 2017. Let me give a little economic dimension or just economic angle to my debate, that India is a country of economic disparities. When we compare the GDPs of the southern countries with lots of northern and the eastern countries, northern states of India, we get to know that the economic disparities still exist in our country, and this will give rise to rich states versus poor state debate. And I personally believe that economic disparities gave rise to alienation rather than nationhood. It's very strange that my competitors are supporting the motion that strong state builds strong nation when they have strong, evident, practical examples right in front of them. Me belonging to the Dogra community of Jammu and Kashmir, I will not hesitate even a single time to say this fact that how power was misused before the abrogation of Article 370. No matter how much they support the motion that strong states build a strong nation, respected jury members, I will not forget the recent Pahalgam attack in which 26 innocents lost their life. And I will not hesitate to even say this, that if the politicians, if the administrators of Jammu and Kashmir had the power to manage their security forces independently, then the politicians and authoritarians or the administrators who are sympathetic towards the separatists, they could have stopped the action of nation. They could have stopped the action of nation. No matter how much facts they will quote here, but I will not forget about the tragedies that India has experienced from last 78 years. If you are talking about that strong states can build strong nations, I want to quote, or I would like to highlight that I think that you are not aware about the Khalistani movement in the year of 1980s, how Punjab has experienced, how the things were changed there. If you are saying that strong states build strong nation, I think you are not aware about the recent parliamentary discussion over the northeastern states who are continuously demanding for separate status, more autonomy, more power. Considering the social impacts also, a strong state will overshadow the civil society, NGOs, and also the local governance. India is a country which believes in bottom-up approach, which means it is not ready to give maximum power to the state, not in the context that this could give rise to the feeling of nationalism amongst the communities, but also towards my concluding point, I would say that where the roots quarrel, the trees cannot stand still, and the walls that are made with force falls eventually, but the bridges that are made with trust endure forever. Thank you so much.
Questions?
Greetings. Excellent speech. I would like to highlight the point that you have mentioned that B.R. Ambedkar was a person who did caution against excessive centralization, right? But do you also not believe that he was also the same man who argued for a United States of India, in fact? Was he not the same person who actually promulgated the idea that there needs to be states? And if we are discussing the Constituent Assembly at all, why are we even limiting ourselves to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar? Were there not other very big geniuses who did in fact realize that excessive centralization could lead to a sense of alienation within the communities?
I appreciate your question. The Indian Constitution took about 2 years, 11 months and 18 days to be formulated. So, on the board or on the grounds of the debates that were made in the Constituent Assembly, you are talking about that he was also the supporter of the Union of India. Then I would like to ask you one question, that what is the reason of joining the Article 1 in the Indian Constitution, which states that India shall be a union of state and no state shall have the right to secede from the India? I hope I'll continue with my answer only. Asking a question to you. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So, I personally believe that the reason why I quoted that B.R. Ambedkar played an important role, or why I'm talking about, why I took the example of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, so considering your point that he was the father of the Indian Constitution, and when the deliberations in the Constituent Assembly was made, so there was so much ideas that were put in front of the Constituent Assembly, but the provisions that continue still today is what is the living vision of the founding fathers of the Indian Constitution. And as you have said, that Union of India, I'm sorry, I don't want to continue. Thank you.
Fourth team is graphic error. For the motion, Vedant Sri Krishna. Against the motion, Lucky Rawat. Vedant Sri Krishna.
A very warm afternoon to one and all present here, respected President Sir, and all the judges and my fellow colleagues and participants. Our topic of our today's discussion is stronger states make for a stronger nation. And this largely connotes to the idea of federalism. Now let us look at the time period of around the beginning of Second World War and during the depths of the Great Economic Depression, when the renowned political scientist Harold Lasky almost concluded that the time of federalism is over. And this was due to the large political spaces and large political organizations of that era were organizing themselves towards a more unitary and centralized exercise of power. And due to this, Lasky almost wrote the epitaph of federalism. But now let us compare this to the current time period which we are right now, where political sciences throughout the global scene have tried to tell us that federalism and judicial review are one of the strongest growing devices of constitutional making. And the structure of our constitution is also a federal constitution. So now let us try to understand how the origin and structure of our federal constitution has come about. And a very important aspect of this is the civilizational roots and the civilizational aspect which has helped us create and foster this federal identity of a nation. And the union of states, I quote, India is a union of states which have come together to form a nation to be able to work together for their betterment and for the betterment of their citizens. Now what is a state? A state is not just a simple geographical territory. It is a group of community, a community of people who have a distinct, I once again want to point out, who have a distinct ideological, cultural and sociological identities which lead on to very different things and a shared history, cuisine, culture, language and a lot of other things. And this constitutional phraseology which points out the union of states particularly helps us to understand the unique character of each and particular state and tells us about the need for its space and internal machinery to work in an organized system for the betterment of its citizens and for the people of the country. Now, while trying to understand how this process came about, we must try to understand the British colonial era, which had impacted a lot of our political and socio-political reasons. With the advent of the colonial rule and to the imperial eye, the diversity of a nation which was so diverse and pluralistic in nature, it appeared to them and to their power structures highly disorientative because of the exercise of power which they wanted to conduct towards our civilians and our citizen of people. And due to this imperial ideology and the colonialization of the mindset, we started to developing a Western nation state theories which was not till that time professed in the states of India. And we started developing that colonization of states of theory and the Western nation state theory with the advent of the dominance of the Western thought on the Indian academia or on the academic part of the subcontinent at large. And while we see that this transition comes about where we see the advent of the new nation state theory proposed by the West being accommodated into our socialization and our culture was due to the reason of the development of a nationalism and the emergence of nationalism and the development of nation state throughout the European continents at that particular time. Now, if we want to look at how this development affected the different aspects of federalism that pointed to our structure, we should move on to the aspects of the essential nature of federalism. The essential idea that of the federalism and one defining feature of Indian federalism is its diversity and plurality as compared to that Western nation state theory which has been imposed upon us. This is diversity, and we are diversity not just because we are surrounded by it. We are diverse because we encompass it in our consciousness and the self-awareness of being an Indian. We encompass this diversity and plurality. It is because we, not just as a nation, exist one. It is because this shared distinctive group of identities that we have in our nation, we celebrate them. And this cultural celebration of different diversities and identities is what makes India unique. And Rabindranath Tagore, while criticizing this nation state theory of the promulgated by the West, he emphasized his distrust towards this ideology and also tried to point us towards Indian nationalistic core principle, which helps us to celebrate our distinctive culture, and it doesn't hamper nationalism or doesn't try to falter with it. It tries to develop a sense of nationalism which is innate and very predominantly our own, very personal to us. And he also concluded that it is our India's gift and the solution in acknowledging the diversities of different faiths that we can give to the other nations as part of our academic and cultural development. And moving on, I would like to reiterate why this structure of Indian federalism in which we are entrapped is very important for our existence and very important for the development of our nation. Because Indian federalism, just like the diversity of cultures, whereas offers a multiple outlook, the development and incitation of mutual trust and tolerance towards each other. It also helps one to inculcate a cosmopolitan outlook, and most importantly, it tries to bridge the differences between conflicting group of peoples and promotes one to understand and take an active seeking an interest in the understanding of other sides of ideology and the other spectrums of horizon, which tries to foster a stronger sense of nation together and develops a more stronger sense of nationalism in our country. And Mahatma Gandhi also emphasized on this local self-government and the rule for Panchayati Raj governments, and how the important self-governance at local levels and how our important structure of the constitution, which provides us with the 73 amendment with the Panchayati Raj system and local levels of government, helps us to facilitate this machinery and the well-oiled machinery of power in a more structured way. And we should remember that this emancipatory spirit which traveled through the freedom struggle and made its way into the constitution was not just merely because of these fundamental differences, but it was because of a collective spirit that the different identities and different ethnicities shared together, which fostered together and culminated in the constitution as a result. And while this constitution is the accommodation of all that ethnicities and diversities, we must also understand that the democracy, federalism and diversity, these are the DNA of our constitution, and to impair and harm it with the viciously sectarian form of nationalism is to impede upon it a lower form of ideology. Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you for your speech. You mentioned the fact that India is a diverse and pluralistic country. There's no doubt to that. But I would like you to acknowledge the fact that we have an inbuilt safeguard within our constitution in the form of Article 356, which allows the breakdown of state machinery as a ground for the union to somehow govern a state wherein they believe that the constitution is not being followed. Now, the founding fathers put in this very nuanced and new principle because of the fact that they were aware where a state takes on authoritarian tendencies, regardless of the autonomy it enjoys, it is against its own interest to be constitutional. And in that regard, I'll give you a very practical and human example of the United States. Ever since Roe versus Wade was struck down, we have had multiple states throughout the US promote draconian policies on abortion. I'll give you the example of the state of Alabama, and I want you to answer the question wherein you have a woman who has been molested, who's suffering and does not want the embryo that is inside her, and she cannot get medical care. Yeah. No, sir. Yes, sir.
If I can conclude, I think I understood what you're trying to portray. Firstly, let me just ask. Firstly, you wanted to point out towards the emergency provisions and how the center can take over states. And secondly, you wanted me to comment on the Roe v. Wade judgment and how the stronger states and make a stronger nation is inherent to that.
Just the ramifications of having strong states.
Yes. Now, can I answer? Yeah. Now, firstly, we must understand is what is federalism and how does it come about? It is a system of governance made for people. So while you talk about the emergency provisions of Article 357, you must remember whenever there is an emergency, a lot of fundamental rights of humans are suspended. And the structure of federalist government that we embody, it is for the representation of our civilians, our citizens. And when that emergency is imparted, the basic right to vote is hampered and a lot of other fundamental rights have been taken away. So one should not argue that just because the emergency provisions are being provided in the constitution, that weakens the federal structure of our nation. The federal structure of our nation is for the embodiment of our citizens and their participatory form in the government. And secondly, the point where you commented on Roe v. Wade, what is beautiful about this point is in American federation and the federalism that America practices, the beauty of it is if a center tries to abolish a particular judgment or a particular decree or a particular precedent in a very unitary form, the states have the power to fight against it. So to convey a point, a woman who has been molested or is a victim of any crime, if she is in a particular state where the state has the power to fight and does not succumb to the demands of the center, it can and help them. Thank you. Thank you.
A house divided against itself cannot stand. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I stand before you to speak against the motion. The strong states make a strong nation. And I begin with a simple thought. A nation is not the sum of its parts. It is a soul, a spirit, a shared identity. India is not merely a collection of 28 states and 8 union territories. India is an idea, an emotion, a civilization that has stood the test of times, not because its states were strong individually, but because we stood together as one. Our constitution clearly states in Article 1, India, that is Bharat, shall be a union of states. This phrase was deliberately chosen by the framers of our constitution to emphasize that India is not a traditional federation like United States. Our states do not have the right to secede. They are a part of a permanent, indivisible whole. The idea that strong states make a strong nation may sound appealing, but it risks encouraging division. It risks turning cooperation into competition, and it risks weakening the very foundation of our democracy. The concurrent list in the 7th schedule allows both the center and the state to make laws on subjects like education, forest and marriages. Why? Because these are national concerns. They affect every Indian, not just one nation. The emergency provision under Article 356 allows the center to intervene when states fails to follow constitutional norms. This isn't about control. It's about safeguarding democracy. Let me now bring in some powerful judicial voices that have shaped our understanding of center-state relations. First, State of West Bengal versus Union of India 1963. This case questioned whether Parliament could acquire land in a state without its consent. The Supreme Court ruled in the favor of the center, stating that India is not a traditional federation but a union of states. Second, S.R. Bomai versus Union of India 1994. This landmark case dealt with the misuse of Article 356 and dismissal of states' government. The Supreme Court laid down strict guidelines for imposing President's rule but upheld the centre's authority to intervene when state violates constitutional norms. Third, Keshav Bharati versus State of Kerala 1973. This historic case introduced the basic structure doctrine, stating that federalism, unity and integrity of the nation are the basic parts of the constitution's case. The unity and integrity of the nation is the basic feature of the constitution and cannot be altered. These cases collectively affirm that while states are important, the strength of India lies in its ability, lies in its constitutional unity and the guiding role of the center. Let's imagine a cricket team where every player wants to be a captain. Will that team win? No, because the leadership must be unified, strategies must be shared, and the goal must be common. Similarly, if every state pulls in a different direction, prioritizing its own laws, its own language, its own culture, the nation will suffer. We have seen glimpses of these in debates over languages, water sharing, and even COVID-19 policies. When states act in isolation, the people suffer. As Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said, I want all Indians to be Indians first, Indians last, and nothing else but Indians. Let's now look beyond India. China's development is the textbook example that how strong central planning can transform a nation. Through its 5-year plans, China sets a unified national goals across sectors like infrastructure, technology, education, and environment. The central government coordinates development across provinces, ensuring that even remote region benefits from national progress. Major projects like road and belt and road initiatives, high-speed rail networks, and smart cities were centrally planned and executed, lifting millions out of poverty. India's federal structure allows states to pursue their own development paths. While this has led to innovation, it has also created uneven progress. States like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Gujarat, they have strong health, education, and industrial models. But states like Bihar, Odisha, and Uttar Pradesh, they lag behind due to poor governance, weak infrastructure, and lack of coordination. This disparity shows that state strength also doesn't guarantee national strength. Without central support and coordination, development remains fragmented. Let us take a real example. During COVID-19 pandemic, it was the central government that coordinated vaccines distribution, managed lockdowns, and supported states financially. Strong states alone cannot fight national crisis. We need strong coordination, shared resources, and unified approach. The center handles national security, financial policy, and economic planning. These are not state level issues. They require unified action. If every state becomes too powerful, they may start prioritizing regional pride over national unity. This can lead to conflicts, confusion, and even constitutional breakdowns. India is a country of many cultures, languages, and traditions. But our strength lies in our ability to live together, work together, and dream together. If we focus only on making the state strong, we risk dividing this beautiful mosaic into isolated pieces. If we focus making the nation strong, every state will benefit. As Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the Iron Man of India, said, every Indian should forget that he is a Rajput, a Sikh, or a Jat. He must remember that he is an Indian. So let me end with this. Strong states may shine individually, but only a strong nation carry them forward. Let us not build walls between states. Let us build bridges. Let us not chase regional pride. Let us embrace national unity. Because in the end, strong nation makes strong states, not the other way around. Thank you. Any questions?
Right, hello. So you presented the example of China, right? So there is a scholar called Yuan Ang who actually argued that China grew because of decentralization, or China's economy would have faltered. Like different provinces like Guangdong focuses on export-oriented manufacturing, etc. Do you think if the provinces in China were not strong, China would have come to be what you would consider a strong nation, which is very quantifiable in your terms?
Thank you for the question. As I have already mentioned in my speech as well, that strong states may shine individually, but only a strong nation carry them forward. So if a particular state is focusing on one sector and not the other sector, if one sorry, but can you repeat the question?
Absolutely, yes. So my question is that there is a very prominent Chinese scholar who's Wen Yang. He argued that China's economy actually bolstered because of decentralization and because they focused on making their provinces strong. Like there are different provinces who focus on different things. Like I have given the example of Guangdong, which focuses on export-oriented manufacturing. Do you believe if these states were not allowed the autonomy or the requisite strength in order to bolster these sector-specific innovations, would China have become the economic powerhouse that it is today?
China, as I don't know about the what you stated about the philosophy, whatever, but I want to say that individual when China is becoming having top of in top of the sorry sorry.
Before I continue further, I request, welcome Mahesh Dhulia ji, very senior forest officer among us. He was one of the judges last year. He's come to grace. Amit Sachdev Saab, he was the CSR man of India. He is there before us. Dr. Y.P. Singh, very, very distinguished scholar, is here to bless us. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, faculty members who are here. And as we continue, Sobhan Singh Jaina, University, you are number 5. And therefore, Sujal Bhandari, for the motion, Arshdeep Singh against the motion. Sujal Bhandari.
Respected President, judges, and dear audience, I, Sujal Bhandari, present over here to deliver a speech for the motion, Strong States Make Strong Nations. So I strongly support this argument that strong states make strong nations, because when we see a nation is made, it is because of the states that are responsible for the nation to the overall growth. We cannot say if the states are not growing, nation is eventually winner. When we see that when states together grows, the eventual winner is nation. So I would like to add my certain points to this argument, that strong states make strong foundation for a strong nation. Strong foundation, when we see this building is still and standing strong because of its bricks. That bricks are like states for a nation. So another point, when decentralization of power is done in a nation, so it reaches the grassroots problems of states. So first, when Mahatma Gandhi said the soul of India lives in their villages, that means when we have to solve the problems of a nation, we have to go to the grassroots. For example, when we see this library, if certain things are not working here, we cannot take decision far away from here. We have to come to this library to solve the disputes. That means we have to come to the grassroots problem to decentralize the power. That's why the 73rd Amendment and 74th Amendment of the Constitution was done to add panchayat and urban local body system in our Constitution, so that every man is close to the governance and can act and do the welfare of the overall nation. And the third point I would like to state, that strong states improves national security. you will be amazed when you are listening to this, that how national security can be done by states. But when we see that, when we see, any, for anything or any incident occurs in border areas, the first one to respond is the police, which is controlled by the state. That means the first one to respond, police, when we see anything related to Kashmir or any issue, the first one to go to the site or local intelligence comes from the JNK police and local intelligence. So giving power to them is very important, because they are the first respondent to anything. So strong states also improves ensures national disaster. When we see any national disaster happens, so first one to respond is state. So when we empower state, so they come, the first one to respond are, they create local healthcare system, and SDRF are formed, teams are formed, so that they can respond quickly to the any natural calamity. And another point is is that when we see that when decentralization of power is done, so every problem of state is solved by the by the local people or something like that. And yes, some points I just remembered. So strong states create innovation and competitiveness to each other. When we see Tamil Nadu is bringing FDI to their state, so there is a healthy competition among the states, so that Gujarat also wants to invite FDI to the state and create local jobs, so that they can empower their state, and in this the whole situation, overall winner is our nation. So to conclude my speech, I want to say that a nation is like a necklace where every state is a jewel. When any jewel we see is broken, so whole necklace loses its beauty. So thank you.
Thank you for your speech. My question is in regards to your statement wherein you said that states ensure efficacy in investigations. So when we have large-scale investigations by the CBI and ED, because of the autonomy to states, many states like West Bengal have continually blocked their access to those investigations. So won't this cause delay, and won't it cause then problems in trying to bring justice to the perpetrators who then take advantage of these autonomies?
Okay, let me answer. You said that CBIs and EDs or national level agencies are involved, but I was pointing that first one to respond they are the first one to respond. That means how quickly they come to the site in where any incident has been happened. So that means if I am talking about the empowerment of state, so I here mean, so how quickly they are engaging in these activities to solve any crime or something like that which has been happened. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Against the motion?
Fiat justitia ruit caelum. Let justice be done even though the heavens fall. But justice should not be state to state. It should be nation. It should be about the nation. When our justice becomes a postcast privilege, it breaks the nation. Today, I, Arshdeep Singh Anand of Shobhan Singh Jina University, is here to debunk the utopian construct that is strong states make strong nation. But what kind of nation are we talking about? a nation where justice does not happen, or a nation where the local I'll be contrasting this concept with the American Civil War and with the human psyche. The American Civil War was fought because some of the southern states were economically prosperous and culturally rich. But when they become culturally rich, they thought they could defy the Federation. When they thought they could defy the Federation, the secessionist tendency started. This similar things can be seen in our own country. When during the Green Revolution, Punjab prospered with a already rich culture, they demanded for the Anandpur Sahib resolution. After that, the Khalistani movement was started. And the similar could be seen during the Tamil Nadu's Dravidian movement. They demanded a Dravid Nadu. Thank you.
The sixth team is Chanakya Law College, and Shambhavi Singh will speak for the motion, and Arjun Pratap Singh will speak against the motion. Shambhavi Singh of Chanakya Law College.
हम भारत के लोग संविधान के प्रस्तावना के शब्द केवल हमारे राष्ट्र की एकता की गूंज नहीं है, बल्कि उन विविध और सशक्त राज्यों से उत्पन्न उस शक्ति का भी प्रतीक है जिनसे ये एकता निर्मित होती है। भारत अर्थात इंडिया कोई एक रूपी सत्ता नहीं है, ये राज्यों का एक जीवंत संघ है जिसमें हर राज्य अपनी विशिष्ट पहचान, संस्कृति, अर्थव्यवस्था और परंपरा के स्वर भारतीय संगीत में जोड़ता है। हमारे संविधान निर्माताओं ने एक अर्ध संघीय संरचना की कल्पना करी थी जिसमें प्रत्येक राज्य अपनी विशिष्टता बनाए रखते हुए भी इस महान गणराज्य की संप्रभुता को बनाए रखे। भाषाई पुनर्गठन से लेकर क्षेत्रीय आकांक्षाओं तक हर पुनर्निर्धारित सीमा और सशक्त राज्य ने भारतीय लोकतंत्र को और मजबूत बनाया है। इतिहास साक्षी है कि राज्य जब राजनीतिक, सांस्कृतिक, आर्थिक और धार्मिक रूप से मजबूत होते हैं तो राष्ट्र वैश्विक मंच पर और ऊंचा उठ खड़ा होता है। वास्तव में राज्यों की यही शक्ति एक संघ को स्थायी बनाती है। नमस्कार आदरणीय निर्णायक मंडल, श्रोतागण एवं सहवक्ता साथियों, मैं शांभवी सिंह विषय स्ट्रॉन्ग स्टेट्स मेक स्ट्रॉन्ग नेशन के पक्ष में अपनी बात रखना चाहूँगी। मान्यवर, भारत में राज्यों की अवधारणा कोई आधुनिक निर्माण नहीं है। इसकी जड़ें महाजनपदों तक जाती हैं, जैसे मगध, कौशल, वत्स और अवंती। ये सभी स्वतंत्र इकाइयाँ थीं, परंतु एक साझा सांस्कृतिक, आर्थिक और धार्मिक पहचान ने इन्हें भारतवर्ष के रूप में जोड़ा। मौर्य काल में प्रांतीय शासन की शुरुआत हुई, जिसमें हर प्रांत स्वतंत्र रूप से कार्य करता था, परंतु केंद्र से जुड़ा रहता था। गुप्त काल में ये संघीय भावना और गहरी हुई, जिसमें विषयपति और उपरीक जैसे स्थानीय अधिकारी जनता से सीधे जुड़े रहते थे। इसी प्रकार मुगल काल में भी सूबा प्रणाली ने दर्शाया कि केंद्र और राज्य दोनों को आत्मनिर्भर और एक दूसरे पर निर्भर होना भी अति आवश्यक है। तो फिर आप ही बताइए, क्या कोई राष्ट्र वाकई में शक्तिशाली हो सकता है यदि उसके राज्य कमजोर हो? नहीं। संप्रभुता के जनक जीन बॉर्डन ने कहा है कि शक्ति तभी सार्थक है जब स्थानीय इकाइयां सहयोग करें। केसी वैरे ने भी माना है कि केंद्र और राज्य दोनों के सामूहिक सहयोग से ही संघ स्थायी होता है और सिर्फ इतना ही नहीं, अगर अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर की बात करें तो विश्व के कई अन्य लोकतंत्रों ने भी ये बात माना है और वह इसी सिद्धांत पे चलते हैं। उदाहरण स्वरूप संयुक्त राज्य अमेरिका यूएसए विश्व की सबसे बड़ी संघीय लोकतंत्र, जहां संघीय एकता के साथ स्थानीय स्वायत्तता का अद्भुत उदाहरण देखने को मिलता है। वहां के 50 राज्य अपने अपने कानून, शिक्षा, स्वास्थ्य तथा विकास संबंधित नीतियां बनाते हैं जिससे उनकी परिस्थिति अनुसार विकास हो सके, परंतु उन सबको एक सूत्र में बांधता है एक संविधान, जिससे राष्ट्रीय एकता निर्मित होती है। वास्तव में यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका में यूनाइटेड शब्द तभी सार्थक है जब हर राज्य एक समान रूप से विकास कर सके। इसी प्रकार जर्मनी ने द्वितीय विश्व युद्ध के बाद एक फेडरल प्रिंसिपल प्रणाली अपनाई, जिससे कि लैंडर यानी कि स्टेट्स को व्यापक अधिकार प्रदान किए गए। आज वही जर्मनी यूरोप की सबसे सशक्त अर्थव्यवस्था है और उसका हर राज्य, फिर चाहे वो बवेरिया हो, चाहे वो सैक्सनी हो या हेसे, आज उत्पादकता और आत्मनिर्भरता का प्रतीक है। इसी प्रकार 26 कैंटन्स वाला छोटा सा देश स्विट्जरलैंड, जहां नेशनल यूनिटी विथ लोकल ऑटोनॉमी यानी राष्ट्रीय एकता के साथ स्थानीय स्वायत्तता का सिद्धांत लागू किया गया है, वो विश्व की सबसे समृद्ध देशों में से एक है। इसी प्रकार ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने भी अपने अपने राज्यों को कानून बनाने का पूरा अधिकार दिया हुआ है। ठीक कुछ इसी प्रकार हमारे संविधान निर्माताओं ने एक ऐसे देश की परिकल्पना करी थी जहां हर राज्य एक आवाज और एक अवसर बने। हमारी विधायिका ने यह सुनिश्चित किया कि एक ऐसा राष्ट्र निर्माण हो जिसमें यदि केंद्र दिशा देते हो तो राज्य उसका अनुकरण करते हो। गुजरात का औद्योगिक विकास, कर्नाटका की तकनीकी क्रांति, केरला का स्वास्थ्य मॉडल, उत्तर प्रदेश की अर्थव्यवस्था, मेघालय की मात्र सत्तात्मक सभ्यता, तो उत्तराखंड की पर्यावरणीय सुरक्षा, ये सब यही बताते हैं कि जब केंद्र अडिग होता है तो ही उसके राष्ट्र भी आत्मविश्वासी होते हैं। मान्यवर, मैं याद दिला दूं, पाकिस्तान का विभाजन, सूडान और लीबिया की अराजकता, सोवियत संघ का पतन, ये सब यही बताते हैं कि जब शक्ति केंद्र में सिमटती है तो वो एकता नहीं, विनाश लाती है। शक्ति का संकेंद्रण केवल और केवल बिखराव लाता है और भारत ने यही गलती नहीं दोहराई, इसलिए हमारा संघ आज सबसे ज्यादा अडिग और स्थायी है। ऋग्वेद में कहा गया है, संग छद्वम संवदध्वम संवो मनांसी जानताम देवा भागम यथा पूर्वे सज्जनानम उपासते। और यही आज मेरे इस मूल भावना का सार है, क्योंकि वाकई में एक राष्ट्र तभी शक्तिशाली हो सकता है जब उसका हर एक नागरिक, हर एक प्रांत, हर एक कोना एक समान रूप से राष्ट्र निर्माण की ओर अग्रसर हो। और मान्यवर, मैं इन्हीं कथन के साथ अपने इस वक्तव्य को विराम देना चाहूंगी। जय हिंद, जय भारत, धन्यवाद।
मैम, मेरा सवाल ये है, आपने बात करी भारत के कुछ स्टेट्स की जो उनकी स्पेशलिटी है, प्लस आपने भारत के इतिहास की बात करी और आपने यूएसए की बात करी। मेरा सवाल है आइडियोलॉजी पे, कि जब आप इनकी स्पेशलिटीज़ बता रही हैं, ऑफ कोर्स दे विल हैव अ स्पेशलिटी एंड स्पेशली द यूएसए हैज़ अ स्पेशलिटी, बट द पॉइंट इज, question is that when the ideology goes against the nation, that regionalism is so high that the ideology is going against the nation, and that is the reason why divide and rule was applicable in India, though we were golden bird, but it was captured by Mughals, Britishers, because it was divide and rule. So how do you define that ideology? If it is even different, then also the strong states will make a strong nation when the ideology is going anti-national.
Thank you so much for your question. Our country works on the principle of cooperative federalism, that is सहकारी संघवाद. हमारे देश में एकता में विविधता का सिद्धांत है. पाकिस्तान, श्रीलंका, म्यांमार, लगभग इन सब की इकोनॉमी एक साथ स्टार्ट हुई थी, पर फिर भी आज भारत कहाँ है और इन सारे देशों में इकोनॉमी कितनी कोलैप्स हो चुकी है. तो इसका मतलब ये है.
My question is about ideology, not economy.
Please don't interrupt me. Let me complete. The ideology that you are talking about, that unitary government makes that much more possible, but that is not sticking to India, as we have unity in diversity, and then also, can you please let me complete? Thank you so much. So the Can you just repeat your question? What exactly you want?
It is about the ideology that when it goes against nationalism, that nation, then how you say that strong state makes strong nation.
Okay, thank you so much. Strong states definitely make strong nation, because unless and until the foundation and the base is strong, you cannot build the entire building strong. So states definitely contribute to the overall growth of the nation. Thank you so much.
So with your kind permission, shall I start? Thank you. जैसा कि अब्राहम लिंकन ने कहा था, जो घर अपने ही विरुद्ध विभाजित हो वह कभी टिक नहीं सकता, ठीक उसी प्रकार जो राष्ट्र अपने ही स्वार्थी और अलगाववादी राज्यों में बंट जाए, फिर चाहे वो कितना भी समृद्ध क्यों ना हो, कभी मजबूत नहीं बन सकता। नमस्कार, मैं अर्जुन प्रताप सिंह आज इस मंच से पूरे आत्मविश्वास के साथ इस प्रस्ताव का विरोध करता हूं कि मजबूत राज्य ही मजबूत राष्ट्र बनाते हैं। इतिहास साक्षी है, जब जब राज्यों ने अपनी स्वायत्तता को राष्ट्र की एकता से ऊपर रखा, तब तब विघटन हुआ। 1947 में रियासतों का अलगाव, 1960 में द्रविड़ आंदोलन की पृथक पहचान की मांग और 1980 में खालिस्तानी अलगाववाद की आग। क्या ये सभी मजबूत राज्यों के उदाहरण थे? नहीं, ये सब वह पल थे जब राज्यों ने राष्ट्र की एकता को कमजोर किया और राष्ट्र ने अपनी ऊर्जा विखंडन में गंवाई। पर जब भारत ने इन सभी को एक संवैधानिक सूत्र में बांधा, तब भारत बना एक स्वर्णिम राष्ट्र। महोदय, विचारणीय प्रश्न तो यह है, क्या वास्तव में मजबूत राज्य ही मजबूत राष्ट्र बनाते हैं? यदि ऐसा होता तो केवल सत्ता, संसाधन और संरचना ही किसी राष्ट्र की असली ताकत होती। श्रीमान, न्यायशास्त्र की दृष्टि से देखें तो राष्ट्र की ताकत उसके राज्यों में नहीं बल्कि संप्रभुता में निहित है, और आधुनिक लोकतंत्र में यह संप्रभुता किसी राजा में नहीं बल्कि जनता में बसती है, जो अपनी शक्ति संविधान के माध्यम से शासन को सौंपती है। और यही है विधि का शासन, द रूल ऑफ लॉ, जहां सत्ता नहीं संविधान सर्वोच्च है। थॉमस हॉब्स ने कहा था कि एक राज्य सर्वशक्तिशाली लेवियथान होना चाहिए, परंतु जॉन लॉक और रूसो ने चेताया कि अगर एक राज्य जनता की इच्छा से ऊपर उठ जाए तो उसका अस्तित्व भी खोखला हो जाता है। और अंततः एवी डाइसी ने इसे एक सिद्धांत के रूप में स्थापित किया कि कानून सबके ऊपर सबसे लागू हो, ना राष्ट्र उपवाद हो, ना राज्य। यहां तक कि इंपीरियल स्टेट की अवधारणा भले ही उपनिवेशवाद की उपज रही हो, पर उससे यह शिक्षा जरूर मिलती है कि जब शक्ति का प्रवाह ऊपर से लेके नीचे तक एक नियंत्रण रूप में होता है, तभी प्रशासनिक दक्षता और राष्ट्रीय एकता कायम रह पाती है। जैसे कि अमेरिकी संविधान का 10वां संशोधन यह स्पष्ट करता है कि शक्तियों का वितरण तभी सफल है जब केंद्र और राज्य दोनों अपने सीमित अधिकारों का सम्मान करें। वैसे ही महोदय, भारत में एक सशक्त राष्ट्र का आधार है एक मजबूत केंद्र, ना कि ये बिखरी हुई राज्य सत्ताएं। अमेरिका में संघीय सहायता के रूप में 2021 में लगभग 1.3 ट्रिलियन डॉलर्स राज्य और स्थानीय सरकारों को दिया गया था, जो कि उनके राजस्व का 20% हिस्सा था। और हाल ही में हमारे उपराष्ट्रपति महोदय ने कहा, अ स्ट्रॉन्ग नेशन इज नॉट बिल्ट ऑन पावर अलोन बट ऑन कैरेक्टर एंड यूनिटी। जब घर में शौचालय बनता है तो केवल सुविधा नहीं देता बल्कि मन को गरिमा देता है। और ये कथन हमें सिखाता है कि राष्ट्र की ताकत उसकी शक्ति या संपदा में नहीं बल्कि उसके चरित्र, शिक्षा, स्वच्छता और गरिमा में निहित है। और यही है आत्मनिर्भर भारत की मूल भावना, जहां रक्षा, अंतरिक्ष, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स, स्वच्छ ऊर्जा और जन कल्याण के माध्यम से आज राष्ट्र आत्मबल प्राप्त कर रहा है। श्रीमान, मुझे ये कहते हुए बड़ा गर्व महसूस हो रहा है कि भारत आज दुनिया की 10वीं सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था से बढ़कर 2027 तक शीर्ष 3 और 2047 तक प्रथम स्थान पर पहुंचने का लक्ष्य रखता है। और ये तभी संभव है जब भारत का केंद्र सशक्त, अडिग, निर्णायक और संगठित हो। महोदय, आप वर्ष 2024-25 के बजट को ही ले लीजिए, जहां पे राज्यों के लिए
1.5 लाख की दीर्घकालीन ब्याज रहित ऋण सुविधा दी गई थी और अब तक पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप और अन्य पारंपरिक तरीकों से 68 लाख करोड़ की लागत वाले 35 बड़े इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट सूचीबद्ध हैं, जो राष्ट्र और केंद्र दोनों ही स्तरों पर योजनाओं का परिणाम है। मैं पूछता हूं अपने विपक्ष से, क्या उनको इन आंकड़ों से स्पष्ट नहीं होता कि संसाधन, वित्त और बुनियादी ढांचे के दम पर एक मजबूत राष्ट्र अपने राज्यों का सहयोग करता है, या फिर वो ये नहीं पचा पा रहे कि ठीक इसी तरह राज्य की शक्ति अपने राष्ट्र की एकता और विकास से जुड़ती है। अगर अब हम बात करें अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर की, तो वहां भी यही सत्य है। अगर मजबूत राज्य ही मजबूत राष्ट्र बनाते तो सोवियत संघ आज भी होता, परंतु जब राज्य और गणराज्यों के बीच में सामंजस्य टूटा तो पूरा साम्राज्य बिखर गया। श्रीमान, आप जरा नजर डालिए फिनलैंड पर। यह एक एकात्मिक संसदीय गणराज्य है जहां सारी प्रशासनिक शक्तियां राष्ट्रीय सरकार के अधीन हैं, और यही केंद्रीकृत व्यवस्था उसको दुनिया के सबसे व्यवस्थित और कम भ्रष्ट वाले देशों में शामिल करती है। अब आप चलिए यूनाइटेड किंगडम की ओर, जहां स्कॉटलैंड, वेल्स और नॉर्दर्न आयरलैंड को कुछ विकेंद्रीकृत अधिकार दिए गए हैं, लेकिन वास्तविक नियंत्रण आज भी केंद्रीय संसद के पास है। और एक यही कारण है कि ब्रिटेन आज भी एक सशक्त, संगठित और स्थिर राष्ट्र के रूप में खड़ा है। महोदय, अगर ये केंद्र पहले ही कमजोर हो जाता तो ये एकता कब की टूट जाती। यहाँ तक कि संयुक्त राष्ट्र ने भी ये स्वीकार किया है कि विश्व शांति के लिए मजबूत राज्य नहीं, बल्कि सशक्त, संगठित और अनुशासित राष्ट्र ही आवश्यक हैं, और ये दृढ़ता तभी संभव है जब केंद्रीय सत्ता दृढ़, सक्षम और निर्णायक हो। अंत में मैं बस इतना ही कहना चाहूँगा कि जब राज्य का हर नागरिक अपने स्वार्थ से ऊपर उठकर राष्ट्र हित में सोचता है, जब हर राज्य मैं से ऊपर उठकर हम कहता है, तो केवल एक राजनीतिक उपलब्धि नहीं, बल्कि इतिहास का वो सुनहरा पल होता है जब एक राष्ट्र जन्म नहीं लेता बल्कि जागता है। और इसलिए महोदय, मैं आपको संपूर्ण विश्वास दिलाता हूं अपने कथन से कि राष्ट्र की चेतना ही राज्य की असली ताकत है। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय भारत। और अब आप लोग अपने प्रश्न मुझसे रख सकते हैं।
आपके भाषण के लिए धन्यवाद। मेरा प्रश्न आपसे यह है कि आपने फिनलैंड का उदाहरण दिया, वहाँ पर जो वहाँ की देशज लोग हैं, जिन्हें सामी लोग कहा जाता है, आज उन्हें फिनलैंड की सरकार द्वारा काफ़ी बुरी तरीके से उनका ट्रीटमेंट करा जा रहा है। तो अगर वहाँ पे संघवाद होता तो आपको नहीं लगता है कि वहाँ पे उनका जो अभी सिलसिला चल रहा है वो उनके हित में होता, क्योंकि कोई उनके हित में लड़ने के लिए होता? आपका उस पर क्या विचार है?
महोदय, आपने मुझसे पूछा कि फिनलैंड के लोग वहाँ पे, मतलब सरकार उनको दबा रही है। अगर सरकार दबाती और उनके प्रश्नों को नहीं उठती तो फिनलैंड 2025 की हैप्पी इंडेक्स में पहले नंबर पर नहीं होता। फिनलैंड के लोग खुश हैं, इसलिए वो सर्वे में प्रथम नंबर पर है। धन्यवाद।
आपने बात करी कि 2047 तक हम इकोनॉमी में सबसे पहले पायदान में पहुंच जाएंगे। क्या आपको ऐसा लगता है कि यदि राज्य हमारा साथ नहीं देंगे, आज जिस प्रकार उत्तर प्रदेश के नोएडा में कहीं ना कहीं सभी देश अपनी टेक्नोलॉजी के हब स्थापित कर रहे हैं, अपनी चीजें स्थापित कर रहे हैं, यदि राज्य ही हमारा मजबूत नहीं होगा तो हम देश को पहले नंबर पे कैसे लेकर के जाएंगे? यदि राज्य की अपनी जो नीतियां हैं उनके दम पर ही आज हम लोग वहां पर को कोई भी वित्त पोषण कर पा रहे हैं, तो वो राज्य की अपनी नीतियों के हिसाब से कर पा रहे हैं। जब राज्य मजबूत हुआ है तभी हमारा देश मजबूत होने चला है। तो आप कैसे कह सकते हो कि अगर हम खाली देश के भरोसे रहेंगे तो 2047 में हम प्रथम पायदान पे रहेंगे?
धन्यवाद आपके प्रश्न के लिए। आपका प्रश्न, अगर मैं आपके प्रश्न का मूल समझूं तो आप ये कहना चाहते हैं कि अगर राज्य साथ नहीं देगा देश का तो देश विकसित कैसे बनेगा। तो मेरा उत्तर आपके लिए ये है कि अगर राज्य साथ देता तो भारत कब का विकसित हो जाता। और आज भारत में नागरिकों की भागीदारी, संविधान की सर्वोच्चता और लोगों की भागीदारी ही देश को सबसे आगे बनाती है। आपने एग्जाम्पल दिया उत्तर प्रदेश का। अगर सब स्टेट्स, सारे राज्य अपने अपने बारे में सोचने लगेंगे तो यहाँ पे होल्डिंग टुगेदर फेडरलिज्म है। हमारी संघीय प्रणाली होल्डिंग टुगेदर है। हम राष्ट्र के हित में पहले सोचते हैं और राज्य को बाद में देखते हैं। धन्यवाद।
सर, मेरा सवाल है, आप उत्तराखंड में हैं, उत्तराखंड ने डिमांड करी यूपी से अलग होने की, तब जाके आज उत्तराखंड यूपी से बहुत आगे है। दैट इज़ अ डिफरेंट स्टेट, तो वैसे ही अगर स्टेट अपना ना सोचे तो यूपी ने तो वैसे भी उत्तराखंड के लोगों का एक पहाड़ियों की दिक्कत नहीं समझी, और आज यूपी में भी गैंगस्टर राज से एक राज्य अच्छा बना है बिकॉज एक सीएम चेंज हुआ है, और बिहार में भी यही होगा बिकॉज राज्य ही अपनी दिक्कत समझ सकते हैं, ना कि सेंटर में बैठा कोई गुजरात में इलेक्ट हुआ हुआ पर्सन बिहार की दिक्कत या यूपी की दिक्कत समझेगा। इसको आप कैसे डिफाइन करते हैं?
आपका मूल अगर मैं समझूं तो आप ये कहना चाह रहे हैं कि जो राज्य है वही अपनी दिक्कत समझ सकता है, अगर जो केंद्र में बैठा है वो नहीं समझ सकता। अगर वो दिक्कत नहीं समझ सकता तो केंद्र में बैठा ही नहीं होता। अगर वो इस पायदान पे बैठा है तो वो दिक्कतें समझ रहा है। और मैं बस इतना कहना चाहूँगा कि राष्ट्र, अगर आपने कहा उत्तराखंड अलग हुआ, तो आज आप खुद देख लीजिए उत्तराखंड और उत्तर प्रदेश में एक समय पर बीमारू कहने जाने वाला उत्तर प्रदेश आज सबसे ज़्यादा सरप्लस में है, और उत्तराखंड भी उसके पीछे कदम बना के चल रहा है। धन्यवाद। थैंक यू।
Kumaon University. For the motion, Vipul Dumka. Against the motion, Nandini Joshi.
Have you ever been to a massive family potluck where your aunt from the one side brings a legendary biryani, your cousin from the other side brings this spicy fish curry, and from the other side one of your cousin bring a dessert, and which was really a stairway to heaven? This was all done because all they come together. And let us take an example of one person named is Uncle Central, and he cooks for everyone a very simple dish which he was not even having the idea. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a nutshell is my argument today, that strong states makes a strong nation. I, Vipul Dumka from Dr. Rajendra Prasad Law University, stand here to speak for the motion. Ladies and gentlemen, we take the examples of several states, like we take the example of Uttarakhand, we take the example of Sikkim, but we all referred here to as a country, because when Sikkim tries to be 100% organic, it is not just uplifting its own people, it is setting the example for the entire nation. When we talk about Kerala, that it is reaching to 100% literacy, it is not just for them, it is setting the example for the whole world. India is not a monolith. India, I repeat, India is not a monolith, ladies and gentlemen. We have more cuisines, more traditions, and more practices than a streaming shows have the platforms for its actor. And ladies and gentlemen, as we are talking about strong states makes a strong union, thank you.
Nandini Joshi, against the motion, please.
Hello. Have listened to an orchestra without a conductor? It's an experience. You have the violinist passionately playing the melody tunes, you have the trumpet blaring out the triumphant march, and you have the percussion section with their own wild songs. But that is not music, that is chaos, a cacophony. Every musician is talented, every instrument is perfectly tuned, but without a single guiding hand, we make noise. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we risk for a nation when we say we prioritize strong states over strong nation. Now, my proponent might have painted a picture of a nation where it is a family potluck. But a nation is not a potluck. It is a symphony orchestra that desperately needs a conductor. Greetings, Honorable President, respected judges, my worthy proponents, and to one and all present here.
Today I, Nandini Joshi, stand before you from Rajendra Prasad Law Institute to present my stance against the given motion. I will be presenting three major arguments to support my stance. First and the foremost argument, national defense and external strength. Let us be factual for a moment. Who protects our borders? Is it the Punjab State Army or is it the Tamil Nadu Navy? No, it is the Indian Armed Forces unified under one command, one constitution and one tricolor. When we face external threat, whether it is across Himalayas or over the Indian Oceans, we cannot afford 28 different strategies. At that time, what we need is one powerful and coordinated response. Our strength at the international stage does not merely come from our diversity. It comes for our ability to speak as one voice, our ability to act as one entity. And respected judges, a vulnerable nation is a fragmented nation is a vulnerable nation, easy target for those who do not wish us well. Let me remind you that the Constitution of India under Article 352 gives national emergency to impose the power to impose national emergency to the center. Because the framers of our constitutions were aware that defense cannot be federal, and history has testified that divided power leads to divided nation. Which brings me to my second argument, economic equality and national equity. Let's talk about it home, about the economics of strength. We celebrate the idea of competing states. But what happens when this very healthy competition turns into inequality? What happens when one state, which is blessed with natural resources, becomes the island of prosperity while its neighbor faces the basic infrastructural development? That is not federalism, that is fragmentation through finance. And that is where a strong center plays an important role as a great equalizer. It collects revenues and redistributes it through finance commission awards. It ensures that even a child sitting in the remote mountain hamlet of Uttarakhand receives equal opportunity at education and healthcare as a child sitting in Delhi and Bangalore. This brings me that it is the center that funds the rural electrification across all country. It is the center that makes national highways that do not stop at state borders. And it is the center which ensures that the prosperity of one region is a foundation of another. Imagine that whenever you change a state border, you have to change a currency. That sounds comical. But that is the extreme of putting a state over the nation. And this brings me to my final argument, political and cultural cohesion. It is not to be said that states are unimportant. Far from it. They are individuals, musicians, and brilliant in this great symphony. The soul of our culture resides in their unique tunes, from the soaring violins of the north to the soulful flutes of the east. But if we want to become world's greatest orchestra, then we must play from the same music sheet, that is, our constitution. We must follow the same tempo, that is, our nation's vision. Now, the imbalance of danger is visible in the history. Let me take you to the Khalistani protest of 1980s, where the demand for Punjab started by revenue, land, and language autonomy, but soon muted into a separatist call, costing lives of 21,000 people. And similarly, let's take the international examples of Spain's Catalonia and Yugoslavia. They remind us that whenever regional identity eclipses over national identity, disintegration is not far from it. A strong center ensures that we, as a nation, have one defense force, have one economic unit, and remain as one people of a nation A strong center ensures that when we travel from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, there is a continuity. And let us not aspire to be a nation which is a collection of chaotic, talented soloists. Let us aspire to be world's greatest orchestra. And in my concluding statements, ladies and gentlemen, the strength of a union is not defined by the power of its parts, but by the purpose that binds them. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for the speech. My question is short, but I'll mold it into two parts. Firstly, don't you think you're comparing a very idealistic center to a very realistic state? And secondly, don't you think currently where the central government has won using identity politics, that has fragmented the state more than the state prioritizing its own identities? That is my question.
So the first question was? Could you repeat?
Yeah, my question was, in your speech, don't you think you're comparing a very idealistic center to a very realistic state? And secondly, the current center in our country has won using identity politics in a very majoritarian and populist rhetoric. So don't you think that has fragmented states more than states prioritizing their own cultural or ethnic identities?
Right, thank you. So I have not painted a picture of an idealistic center in front of you. I have painted the picture of how should a center and how is the center working. That is, a strong center is there. India is not a federal nation, it is a quasi-federal nation. So a center is necessary to coordinate, not to silence. So to say that I have painted the picture of an idealistic center is completely wrong. I have painted the picture which Constitution has given to us. And to say the second question, which was, could you please repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. My second question was the current center that we have, that has won using identity politics only, a majoritarian and populist rhetoric. So wouldn't you say under their regime, our country has fragmented more than it would have if it were just the states, is what my...
All right. So that is your belief that the party which is at the center is a majoritarianism center. There is no evidence to that. And for that sense, India cannot be turned into a dictatorship overnight. We have a constitution in front of us that has a system of checks and balances that ensures that the center is only providing a synchronized rhythm to the state. Because if we were to believe that only states can have autonomy, then we will have 28 fragmented nations, and that is not the case. 79 years after independence, India is still a union, which has also been mentioned in Article 1, Union of India and not Federation of State. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for your speech. I have a second question. So you referred to security threats, especially in your speech, saying that they are just better dealt with by the central forces. But how do you believe that internal security issues could be dealt with the central forces, especially seeing the situations that, first of all, arise in Chhattisgarh owing to the Maoist insurgencies, and the allegations that the CRPF has fundamentally failed to recognize the tribal groups that may or may not be what they call Naxalites. Secondly, there are examples like Northern Ireland being...
Could you please skip to the question?
Okay, so could you answer that question?
It's the security threat. So I think you talked about that. I have never in my speech mentioned that states are important. In fact, I have recognized that they are important. But what we are referring to here is strong states. I talked about the national defense system. I did not meant that the state should not have their local policing system or local bureaus. That is necessary. But what is also necessary is that a nation can only be built when the state is coordinating with the center. And if we leave each and every state with their policing force, and when a dispute arrives, do you think that the fragmentation will not occur? Do you really think that when border disputes might arrive between different states, that that would not cause a civil war? That is where the center steps in. So no, I have not denied the existence of local police forces, or I have not said that the state governance is not important. I have that a strong state giving a complete autonomy to them would fragment the nation. Thank you.
DBS Global Business University. For the motion is Cherry Bothra, and against the motion is Tamanna Singh.
Good afternoon, everyone, respected judges, presidents, sir, teachers, and my worthy opponents. I, Cherry Bothra, stand here to argue for the motion that strong states make strong nation. So let me start with a simple question. Can a tree stand strong if its roots are weak? No, because no matter how tall the tree is, one strong wind can uproot it completely. Similarly, a nation cannot stand strong if its states are weak. Our constitution makers envisioned India as a union of states, not as a unitary empire. Our Constitution of India gives both center and state well-defined power mentioned in Schedule 7 of the Constitution, the union, the states, and the concurrent list. So let me give you an example, the state of West Bengal versus Union of India 1963. In this case, it was observed that India is not a federation in its classical sense, but the states are not mere administrative agencies of the center, but they have a constitutional personality of their own. Also, centralized powers often leads to confusion, and also it often leads to alienist for the people who live far away from the capital. If the states are strong, they would make policies for the state which are suitable for them. For example, they would keep, while making the policy, they would keep in mind different things like the culture of the state, the diversity of the state, the economic, the geography, etc. Now let us take an example of states like Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka. All these states are focusing more on industries, infrastructure, healthcare, education. So these things are not only making the states famous, or not only the GDP of those states are rising, but the GDP of those states are contributing in nations too. So when a state rises, it helps the nation to rise too. If a GDP of a particular state rises, the GDP of a complete nation rise. Now the problem comes that some states are flourished and others maybe not. So let us take an example of Odisha, states like Odisha, Bihar, and Jharkhand. These states are not much more developed as we compare to Gujarat and Maharashtra, but we can help them, we can provide them innovation tools, we can provide them with money, and it would not only contribute to the development of those states, but to the development of the nation. So, thank you.
A very warm good morning to the President, jury members, teachers, and my worthy opponent. Today I, Tamanna Singh, standing in front of you to argue in against the strong state make a strong nation. At very first glance, it looked very convincing statement that I didn't know at the end of the day who don't want a powerful, secure, and strong state. But if we look into this statement deeper, we realize that strong state but if we look into this statement deeper, we realize that strong state does not necessarily make a strong government. It often do the opposite. History teaches us that the state which look which look very overpowered from outside often collapse from within. For example, the Soviet Union, which had a very good military power and industrial power, yet disintegrated. It yet disintegrated. Sorry, sir. It disintegrated because the government did not alienate it from the people. On the other hand, Sweden and Norway, which is a democratic nation, and do not have a very strong state, but have a very resilient, accountable, and stable government. This proves that the strength of the government does not come from the power of state, but comes from the consent. When state get developed or powerful, they consolidate power, decrease openness, and consolidate the power of opposition. But we can say that a government cannot gain its strength from powerful state, but often from the citizen trust and control over the citizens. A state may have a power the state have a power on paper, but in the real life, the government have power from the trust and the legitimacy of the citizens. I would love to give an example of Yugoslavia, as it was a prominent example that the rise of political competition, national ethnicities, and the imbalance and manipulation of nationalite will result into the disintegration of a country into 6 different independent states and a lot of civil wars and bloodsheds. And as we all know, India is a country of diverse religion, ethnicities, and different cultures. Diversity is our strength, but if we look deeper, it can be also the reason of weakening of the weakening of nation if we do not control it, or if we do not monetize it wisely. Centralized government or unitary form of government keep us binding as central government ensure that all citizens move under one constitution, one nation, under one vision. I would love to give the example of Jammu Kashmir and the revocation of Article 370. Jammu Kashmir get a special autonomy under Article 370, which make them economically, socially, politically different from rest of the India, which hinders the national unity and integrity. And this is the reason the center decided to revoke this article. As we all know, division of power can lead us to delay in the policies implementation or the efficiencies of government, because sometimes the policies get stuck between the bureaucracy and the consultant and the tug of war between the center and state. In the many instances, central provide more swift, bold, and united answers or advise, be it a war, disaster, or economical instability. There are many instances. For example, in the revocation of Article 370 in Jammu Kashmir, the decision was delayed. This state led to the decision of delay, and it was specifically mentioned or right to information highlight these issues. Central government ensure equitable and equitable and balanced distribution of resources between the states, distribution between the states. If we left everything on the state to decide on the economic policies or foreign policies or laws, richer state would progress faster. Meanwhile, the poorer state will fall behind. We can see this as an example. The literacy rate of Bihar is 55.59%, while the literacy rate of Tamil Nadu is 79.09%. And there are some major decisions like defense, military, related to military, or digital infrastructure, education, health, which needs to be centralized as central authority, as centralized government or authority. Make lead to decision in lead to decision in a implement decision faster and faster, as we can see from the example of China and France. The economic infrastructure and the policies and the surplus is in the China was better than India.
7 minutes have gone. Stop it.
Thank you.
Any questions?
You mentioned about the abrogation of Article 370, and you mentioned how the unitary power structure and it went about to in the fruition of abrogation of Article 370. But don't you think the federal nature of our constitution, which promotes the more about dialoguing and consideration with the states, would have helped in a better format? Because now what we see after the abrogation of Article 370, Ladakh has been separated, and due to the formation of a union territory, the State Service Commission has been abolished, and the rise of unemployment, which was 5 years.
Hello. Keep it crisp. Don't start another debate. What is the question?
Sir, I was basically asking.
No, not elaborate. Yeah. Please ask what is the question.
Sir, want more dialogue and consideration while
But take it.
making decisions be more fruitful.
Can you repeat your question once again?
It's okay. Would the deliberation and a formation of a dialogue with the states while implementing policies by the center would be more resultful and fruitful for the civilians?
We have already given autonomy and special articles to Jammu and Kashmir, but it didn't resulted in a way like it promote national unity. Then there is a reason after a certain period of time they have to revoke that article even after giving it to them. Thank you.
Yeah, he will go with you. Just a moment. Sir, please. We have finished with the debate, but the most important thing is left. That is the presidential address, compilation of results by the judges. They will retire to one room and compile the result, and then announcement of the result. So I request the judges to please retire to the room and compile the results. And I request, Sir, President Indu Pandey, sir, to please give his presidential address. So you may give from there only, sir.
On this occasion, it's been a very interesting debate. You know, it takes me down the memory lane. At the age of 11 years was my first debate. And like all of you, I was also quite nervous. Some of them displayed it here. It's a very psychological thing. Don't get discouraged by that. We often, our chain of thoughts breaks down. We tend to forget. It's the stage fright which we commonly talk about it. Try to overcome it. Don't get discouraged by that. Just try to overcome it. Next time, you will fare better. This whole concept of debate started, I think, in Greece, among the Greek philosophers. There were three great Greek philosophers: Socrates, his disciple Plato, and his disciple Aristotle. So the system was called Socratic dialogues. Socrates made a statement which he knew that was somewhat false, and he wanted somebody to contradict him, and then they started debating the whole thing. There'll be a debate which would follow the statement, and that is how they come to some kind of a conclusion which was a unanimous conclusion. Plato was very critical of the democracy, Greek democracy of the Greek states. That was not the democracy what we understand today. Because there were small Greek states where there was a lot of patronage there. It was a patron-client relationship, as in political administration, or in political philosophy we call it today, and those small Greek states, city-states, were very corrupt. So he came out with an idea of a utopian state of a philosopher king, and he was quite averse to democracy. Over the years, the democratic system as of date is supposed to be, the liberal democracy is the best workable political solution as of date. It may improve over a period of time. We are always in an evolutionary stage. If we look at the history of UK, United Kingdom, the first recognition of rights, citizens' rights, was in 1215. Magna Carta, it was called, the Charter of Rights, which gave certain rights to the commoners for hunting in the forests. Otherwise, it was reserved for the lords and the feudal overlords. Then, in 1688 came a revolution, which was called the Glorious Revolution, during the Stuart regime, and Cromwellian regime came there. Then there was a very corrupt prime minister called Walpole, and the British system, the political system, had become very corrupt. So it was realized that we need reforms, and we need reforms, statutory reforms. So first Reform Act came in 1832 in England, which did away with what were called the rotten boroughs. They were like some constituencies where people purchased votes. Over a period of time, the British parliamentary democratic system got reformed. So our system also, we borrowed the parliamentary system from UK, because they had been our rulers, and we have tried to modify it according to our constitution. So the basic, as was referred, the basic governing principle, the highest law, the supreme law of the nation is the constitution. And the preamble of the constitution which was quoted here, we the people of India having resolved to constitute into sovereign, socialist, democratic, secular republic. So it lays down the principles of justice, freedom, and fraternity, dignity of individual. All those have been recognized, but the idea of sovereignty is there, the idea of democracy is there, idea of republic is there, and idea of it's people-centric. It is developing. There may be deficiencies in the democratic system. It is said that democratic system reforms are not revolutionary. They are incremental reforms over a period of time, but the democratic system has an advantage that it is the improvements take place. The democracy is a self-cleansing system, where if there are some deficiencies, they over a period of time get reformed, but that period is not a short period, it's a long period. And you learn by experience, as they say, you learn by experience. I was once reading an article by Dr. Narayan Murthy. He was talking about the philosophy of his company, Infosys. He says, you have to learn not only by your success, you have to learn by your mistakes as well. What is it that, what does the mistake teach us? And what does our success teach us? Both of them are our teachers. So The same happens in the debate. There were some very logical arguments, I think, especially regarding the Indian federal system. As somebody said, it is a quasi-federal structure, slightly biased in a favor of a unitary system. Because India is a union of states. Article 1 says union of states. The very idea of union of states, because there is such a diversity that there would be secessionary tendencies. So to overcome that, it is biased in favor of the union. But at the same time, what degree of autonomy has to be there to the states? Strong state means two things. We look at it from the point of view of autonomy, how to make states strong. And secondly, is at the same time, how they make themselves stronger economically, socially and economically. Today, the whole development debate, the international discourse on development has undergone a paradigm change. Earlier on, it was totally econocentric, that you made investment had its own returns, and we talk of primarily in fiscal terms, in terms of money, better GDP, more per capita income, and it was supposed to be a developed nation. It was realized that there are other factors. Professor Amar Sen and his colleagues came with the idea of multiple dimensions of poverty. Poverty is not confined only to money terms. There is environmental poverty, there is shelter poverty, there is educational poverty, and apart from that, the political system, whether you have a tyrannical political system. So he talked about multiple dimensions of poverty, and with multiple dimensions of poverty, the whole definition of development also changed. Development was one was the quantitative aspect, which was in terms of better incomes, better standard of living. The other was better standard of living was also in qualitative terms. Better educated society, secure system, better security, social security, economic security, and physical security. One very interesting concept, which of course Finland was quoted here. Finland is one nation which is very rich, and at the same time they say it's almost zero corruption in public service. Now these are not comparable. Finland is not comparable with India because Finland has a very limited geographical area and a very limited population. So we can't compare Finland with India. Similarly, we can't compare USA with India. Another very interesting idea there's a question about Ghana and Nigeria were quoted here, that these suffer, the African nations. There is a very interesting study on East and Central African nations by Professor Goran Hayden. Goran Hayden was a professor of political science in one of the US universities. He was associated with the development programs in Africa for a long time. And a lot of money was pumped into Central Africa and East Africa by World Bank and other multilateral organizations. And they found that the development, in spite of all that kind of investment, the returns were not there, the outcomes were not there. So Goran Hayden then wrote his theory, or wrote his research paper. He says investment per se does not ensure development. Governance principles are equally important. You have to have good governance architecture for ensuring development. And that has been accepted now. Another very important concept in terms of federal system, which has evolved over the years, was in European Economic Union. That is called the principle of subsidiarity. The principle of subsidiarity says that whatever work, whatever function can be performed at whatever level, it should be confined to that level. Now, for example, providing waste disposal has to be done at the municipal level. The municipal board or the panchayat has to look after cleanliness of the city or the drainage of the city, or the local street lighting. You can't leave it to the center because centers, but when it comes to the defense of the country or the foreign policy, it is something the state cannot decide about it. It is the center which has to decide about it. So there has to be some kind of a, as one expression which I thought was a very good expression, synchronized rhythm. The states and the center have to be in a synchronized rhythm. In physics we say if the forces are in the same direction, they strengthen each other. If they are in the opposite direction, the vector dynamics acts that way that they cancel each other. So it has to be, and now coming back to the idea of debate, there was a great idealist philosopher of Germany, Hegel. Hegel came with the idea of dialectics. It was in terms of argument. He says there is a thesis, we come out with a thesis, which is the Socratic statement, and there's an antithesis, the opposite viewpoint. We pick up the best of both and it becomes the synthesis. Synthesis in turn becomes a new thesis, which again gives rise till we reach a stage of perfection, the absolute perfection. In Indian philosophical tradition, जो भारतीय दर्शन है, उसमें भी यही परंपरा रही है, पक्ष, प्रतिपक्ष और फिर सिद्धांत. पक्ष के अपने आर्ग्यूमेंट्स हैं, प्रतिपक्ष के अपने आर्ग्यूमेंट्स हैं, और उससे सिद्धांत है. और यहाँ पर थोड़ा सा उससे भी हीगलियन डायलेक्टिक से भी आगे बढ़ गए हैं हम पक्ष और प्रतिपक्ष के बाद संशय है. यू डाउट बोथ द थिंग्स. पक्ष को भी डाउट करते हैं, संदेह की दृष्टि से देखते हैं, और प्रतिपक्ष को भी, और फिर उसमें से सिद्धांत बनता है. तो सिद्धांत में contains the best of thesis as well as antithesis, and then we convince the person कि साहब this is the right सिद्धांत. और वो सिद्धांत, since as I said कि we are always in an evolutionary mode, तो उसमें हमेशा improvement की गुंजाइश रहती है. इसी तरह से democracy, we talk of mature democracies and still nascent democracies, and it takes a time to mature. For democracy, there has been very interesting study about governance in the South Asian nations by one of the UN organizations, perhaps it was World Bank or one of the UN organizations. उनका जो main सिद्धांत है governance का, how do you say good governance? The acid test is whether people own their government. Is the government of the day accountable to the people, or is it accountable to somebody else? And most of the Asian nations, they said that it is still, or majority of the nation, not only Asian nations, the accountability is towards the political party, towards the political bosses, not toward the constituents. The MLA, whether it's the MLA or the MP or whether it's the block pramukh or the gram pradhan, is he accountable to his constituents or is he accountable to his party bosses? That is one test. The argument in favor of a democratic decentralization is that at a local level, the accountability and transparency increases. The remoter the government is, the accountability goes down. So, how to have a right mix? Somebody used the expression bottom up and top down. So, it has to be the right mix of top down and bottom up. So, again, the synchronized rhythm, kind of a harmony, where it's a win-win situation for everybody. In management, we often talk of a SWOT analysis: strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats or challenges. So, everything needs a SWOT analysis. I think you have to start as a skeptical, on a skeptical note. You try to question things, because that's how things improve. Once you start questioning things, then you come where the deficiencies are, where the inadequacies are, and you try to improve upon it. It's been a very heartening experience to listen to various viewpoints, the way they were presented. Whenever you are in a debate mode, one is the content, which matters, how logical you are, how logically you can put forth your argument. Secondly is how well you can deliver it, the presentation part of it. Some of you have done it very nicely. Some of them you got slightly nervous, don't be discouraged by it. I'm saying again, repeating it. This is a lesson you have learned. In history, about history, one of the definitions of history is the dialogue between past and present addressed to the future. You learn from your mistakes of the past. You learn from your experiences of the past. So every experience is a learning experience, and how to improve upon it is the future. And this is what in Indian philosophy we call the law of karma. The karmic law is this only, that your future is shaped by your past and present. So I again compliment you for an excellent presentation here, and I hope you will always try to improve upon it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for such a enlightening deliveries. As per tradition, sir, shall we put the topic in vote to the House? So, with the permission of Honorable President, we may like to vote. Those in favor, those in for the motion, and those against the motion. Strong states make strong nation. Those who are in favor, please hands up. So I think we need not debate further. The House has voted in favor of strong states, make a strong nation. Thank you very much. As the judges are deliberating, I'm sure after this excellent debates and speeches by you, all of you are prepared. My submission to you that for the next time, before the essay or debate competition, would you like to have some online thing done for you? Huh? No, what is online? What are you saying? No, sir. Need some online like debating skills or something like that? Not selection. I will not have online selection. That they have already said no. Okay? Everybody will come to this university, the Doon Library, and you will compete here. And I repeat myself. Don't go by. I repeat that this aim and object of our foundation, of our debate competition, of essay competition, is to seek participation from the hills, from those nook and corners of Uttarakhand, because we sincerely believe, I repeat myself, that the heart and soul of Uttarakhand lies in the hills. And we therefore support it. And therefore we request you to come from Almora and come from Nainital, and we try to provide you accommodation also. So I only want your participation to increase further, and that it should not be the domain of only the people of Dehradun and the capital, because the Uttarakhand does not lie here, it lies there. Okay? So this is it, and we wait for it. I'm sure some heated argument will be going on there. They'll be arriving soon. And when I announce the result, before that I want to tell you that for all the participants and all the spectators, students, everybody, there are snack packets we have made in the cafeteria. Please collect it, have your coffee there, okay? This is a very small place, otherwise we would have had things here. And I will request my guests and judges, please have tea with us here after that. So what we are proposing is, we want to donate a football trophy to the Garhwal Rifles, and we are on its way to hold an annual football tournament in Lansdowne between the Kant team and the Garhwal Rifles team. It used to be there once upon a time, so that we want to encourage. And the languages, we keep on telling that Garhwali is a dying language and Kumaoni is not flourishing. But I personally believe that as long as we are singing songs in our language, as long as Mangal is being sung during weddings, our language is alive. The language grows in the streets, not in textbooks. I believe in that. And so in order to encourage it, we want to have a competition where a person sings an original Kumaoni song made by him, given music by him, original Garhwali song, original Chakrota, Jaunsar Bhava song. And we will put distinguished people from Uttarakhand as judges. Say, maybe we request Narendra Singh Negi, we can request Preetam Barthwan, Kajal Madhuri Barthwal to judge. So in order to, this is our aim, to encourage our languages of Kumaoni and Garhwali in the hills. This is what we want to do. Any questions from your side? So, since the judges, any questions we'd like to answer? How was the essay this morning? Okay? Okay. So, in another 10 days' time, we will announce the result for the essay. And then we intend to hold a memorial lecture in the month of December, where we'll invite all of you, and of course the winners. And after the memorial lecture, the chief guest will give the prizes. And anyway, if we have some difficulty in organizing a memorial lecture, like last year we had a special ceremony of prize distribution organized, we will do that. So it will be done in a proper ceremony where the prizes distribution to the debate and essay winners would be there. Dr. Y.P. Singh is here, sir. You would like to say anything, sir? Such a distinguished scholar, he is here. And Mr. Amit Sachdev is here with us. Sir, anything you want to contribute, sir? What we did, you're very important. I mean, we have a channel, Karambhumi channel, and we have a website also, karambhumi.org.in, and we have a channel, Karambhumi, where we have some videos. So what we do, till last year, we were doing live. So, and after that, I would request him to cut it into small videos, because nobody has the patience to see a 3-hour thing. That 3-hour thing will also be there for you to see, but we will break. Say, Nandini Joshi of Kumaon University speaking. So your photo will be there, that video will be there. Presidential address. All the speakers, all the 16 speakers who have spoken there, their speeches will be there. So these many small videos will be there. So that will take 1 or 2 days time. Our Ashutosh Dhyani is very competent. He will give us, and we'll upload it. I mean, within 2-3 days, we'll upload it. And we'll send it to the group. There's a group of HODs we do, and we'll do that. So that will be there. I think, let me check out myself.
I'm forgetting the name, but the one who spoke in favor of the motion, the first one was. Okay. Yes. There you are.
The people who forgot, do they want to have a time? They want to come up and try again? Maybe say your last thoughts.
देर आए दुरुस्त आए, ये हर चीज के लिए कहावत है, सारे में सुहागा होता है। कॉलेज का ये कॉलेज इसका हो गया।
कॉलेजेस में ये है ना,
तो ये नीट कॉलेज का टोटल है ये। ठीक है, स्पीकर इसको बंद करूँगा मैं।
Hello. Hello, hello. The long wait is over and the result is here in front of us. As is the tradition, I am not going to announce all the marks and all the numbers. I'll just announce from 3, 2 to 1. And as you know, 3 is only for academic interest. The number 2 is a runner-up, gets the runner-up trophy. And the winner gets the winner trophy. And then there is a prize, this trophy for the best speaker. So here it is. Number 3 is Uttaranchal University. With a total marks of 436.
Can they stand up so that we can see?
Yeah, stand up, yaar. Kya? Good. Number 2 position. What are your guesses? Nobody here? Okay, number 2 position is UPS with 447. And number 1, my God, what a surprise. 456 mark is Chanakya Law College. Okay. Celebration can go on for the whole night. Wait. Kya ho gaya? All fine? Okay. Good, yeah. Chalo, please, relax. Enjoy the victory of others also. So please, better. Yeah. Better. And here is the result for the best speaker. And I will, just to encourage the speakers, we used to just announce the best speaker. Now we'll announce who was the 3rd best speaker and the 2nd one. So here, the judges took time in this only, as I understand. And so 3rd best speaker is Garhwal University, Tanvi Sharma. The runner-up best speaker is UPSC, Samriddhi Mishra. Well done. And in the winner, there is a tie. So they were arguing about the tie only. So then they decided that we would give it to both. So there are 2 best speakers. Both best speakers will get the prize money and both best speakers will get this trophy. Is it okay? Hello. The best speaker is Kumaon University, Nandini Joshi. And Chanakya Law College, Arjun Pratap Singh. Okay. So we end this great debate here with a very happy note. The winners are happy and those who have not won will live to fight the another day. Okay? Bansal, don't be disheartened. You are an old debater. Okay? So here it is. So as I said, after the vote of thanks, I request all of you to go to the cafeteria, shake hands with each other, take your snack dabba, have coffee together and then depart. Okay? And I will request my guests to here and we'll have chai here only. I request my sister, Wing Commander Anupma Joshi, and member of our foundation to please give a vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. So I'm sure I'm going to keep it short and crisp because you need to rush outside for celebrations. And the people who've not won, there's always a next time. I present the vote of thanks and would like to express my gratitude to our President, Mr. Shri Indu Pandey, sir. Thank you for your time and patience. And I know you're a busy man still, despite your retirement, and you've given us so much of time. Thank you so much, sir. Much appreciated. Esteemed judges, just not an enviable task. Honestly, I was like wondering and thinking as to will their judgment match mine. So we were pretty close on that, I must say that. So thank you, Group Captain Achyut Kumar. Thank you, sir, Mr. Notial, and thank you, Ms. Anuradha Singh, for your time. And, judges have a most unenviable task because you have to listen to everybody. We can kind of, switch off in between, but you people can't. So, appreciation for that. Our venue partners, I would like to thank the support of Dr. Joshi, who's the director of the Doon Library, Colonel Rotela and Mr. C.S. Tiwari. Without their help, we would not have been able to find the venue. Our partners from sound and light team, and one person who's like a pillar to us at the foundation, Mrs. Shailendra. Can we have a little bit of a round of applause for him, because he is the man who runs around from smallest things, from getting the banner to fixing up everything. Thank you, Shailendra, so much. Thank you all for your time and the fact that you've traveled all the way from different places. We look for more participation in coming years. Please spread the word. And thank you once again to all the participants. To the winners, congratulations. And the ones who did not make it, there's always a next time. You've put your best foot forward. Have a good day.
Sir, please have a cup of just international. Thank you. Yeah. You want to have a picture? With sir? All the participants, all the leaders, come on, have a picture with the president and the judges. Come.